Yo, what's up? Drive time on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Porter Larson here, once again taking you through it. No Spence Checketts on this Thursday afternoon. And guess who's in studio with me once again? He is a Utes legend. He is one of one, the rattlesnake, Trevor Reilly. What's up, boss?
I'm feeling pretty good today, man. I got a lot of good stuff going this morning. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to talk some sports with you. Excited to talk some Utah football, maybe some NFL. Hell, we can talk some hockey. We can talk some jazz. We can talk some high school sports.
What about girls flag football?
We can
San
talk
Diego?
flag football. Okay. We can talk rodeo. We can talk Olympics coming to Salt Lake in a couple years.
Yeah, man.
By a couple, I mean like 8. I don't know how close we are exactly. 2034.
Shoot, they're already tearing up. The infrastructure is looking good around town. It's looking real nice.
They're already, I would say, unofficially, starting to prepare for the Olympics. That's very much a large-scale thing happening in Salt Lake City. The Delta Center.
Yeah, I see that.
Delta Center is about ready for hockey, and it looks a little different. I'm excited to get in there. While we're on that random subject, let's start there. Utah Mammoth, they've had some preseason action. We've had a few of their guests on the program throughout the week. ESPN700sports.com is where you go to get any of that playback. But Trev, did you make it to many hockey games last year? How much? I mean, I know you've been busy with some college football.
No.
But
okay.
Have you been to a Utah hockey game yet?
I have not yet. I also was not living here last hockey season.
Right, exactly.
I was in Hawaii, and we don't have hockey out there, at least not to my knowledge.
Not yet.
With that being said, huge fan of live hockey. Hockey on TV is still tough for me unless it's a big-time game.
Trev,
live hockey is awesome. Okay,
there's a TV show problem that hockey has, that football has figured it out for the most part. I think football is pro football, college football at the highest levels. They're kind of testing their limits when it comes to pausing the game for commercials and replays and whatnot. They're getting to the limit of how much football fans are going to take of that before they just start watching YouTube highlights after the game's over, right? Like the NBA has become. But hockey has its own problem, which is there is a generation of people that are like me, undiagnosed, probably some sort of attention disorder, right?
Did your mom take Tylenol?
Maybe.
Okay.
I'll have to confirm.
Okay, check that out.
I think so. I also have like 80,000 sports cards. They're all alphabetically organized, so I think she may have taken Tylenol.
Well, some of those guys are pretty dang smart. I always contend Belichick's probably on there, among other people I've met.
Yeah.
That's not a personal shot. The guy's a genius. Whatever.
But I look at this, Trev, and I don't know, man. I think that we look at this hockey team, we look at this arena. It's going to be exciting to see the change. But the issue that I think hockey has on TV, at least for me and a lot of people that I talk to that watch it, is there's 2 intermissions. If you go to overtime, there's 3. It leaves like an hour of breaks during an hour-long game almost sometimes. And
that's a full night event right there, big dog.
It is, and for TV, it creates kind of a unique issue, I think. But I'm sure the folks that are at the NHL get paid to figure that out.
I think that sports need to kind of go what radio does now. When I watch live radio on television, that's weird saying that.
Everyone does it. Colin Cowherd. You can watch Colin Cowherd. We're on YouTube at the moment, right?
So why don't we do that in sports? It makes the game shorter. And TV timeouts are kind of, boring.
Right.
Everyone turns the channel anyway. I don't know how. I guess advertisers are making some money on it, or else they wouldn't do. But there is a better way, dude. There has to be a better way.
Like you were
shorten
saying,
the games, man.
And you do it during the game. You have the commentator do the ad.
Yes.
You have do the Prize Picks ad while we're talking about football.
Backup quarterback on the sideline. Hey, man, give us a Nestle shout out, whatever the heck it is, dude. Utah Islanders. Yeah,
we go.
Do a promo for them, and so you can get people involved, and I think it would be funny. Okay, if you had some people doing original ads live on TV.
Now, here's where I push back, and I'm only going to do it for the sake of radio, because I think mostly you're right. Like, commercialization of sports is going to happen whether I like it or not.
It's here, dude. Texas,
but
you got logos on the jersey in Texas Tech, dude.
how far down that path do we go with, in mind that we're also maybe sometimes sacrificing some things in sports that we like, right? Like, I don't necessarily love that every game we come in and there's a gambling ad as we're coming in. There's a sponsor on the field. There's a sponsor on the score bug. There's a sponsor on the, as you said, maybe the jersey now. I understand what you're saying, and money rules all, but at some point you want to be watching football and not a commercial, if that makes sense.
Well, if you've ever seen European basketball, you know what I'm talking about. Maybe it's different now, but back in the day, the Chinese, even soccer, just people don't have the attention span. That's why people love soccer. It's 45 minutes to 50 minutes of straight action. And that seems a little boring to some people, but there's a huge group of people, like half the world basically, who like that.
No, the fact that the clock is running and you're watching that whole time is a huge draw for soccer.
And that's the problem with just to go back to the NBA. That's the problem with the NBA. I don't watch the first half of the NBA games. Not because I don't like the game or the sport. I'm not that interested in it. There's too many big swings now in the third quarter. I want to see after halftime the adjustments.
Yeah.
And the fouls are the issue. Okay, fouls slow the game down. So that's always going to be there, right? But if you could take out the TV timeouts, I would watch. I don't want to see 7 timeouts and a half, or whatever it is, 6. I know they kind of adjusted that recently, but in addition to that, you have the TV timeout. NCAA, the TV timeouts are killer, dude.
It's bad.
Man. It's every 4 minutes.
It's 40 minutes of basketball that ends up taking 2 hours.
Come on, dude.
And I know that we're a radio show talking about the downfalls of TV on sports on TV, but it's just interesting conversation for me because we're now a market, Trevor, that is bringing hockey here, has pro basketball, has top flight college football, has a pro soccer team. We want to bring baseball here, and we're bringing the Olympics here. So I think it's a fun conversation to have.
I can just tell you, after living in Colorado, and I've been to a lot of Rocky games, watch out for that one. You'll have a lot of empty parks on that one. That's my opinion.
If baseball's here,
if MLB comes here in 81 games, we got to fill seats in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they could do. I guess the A's did it for years, but not really. They're in Vegas now. But all these mountain areas, right? Baseball, even Seattle, baseball didn't make it. Barely made it. They were terrible for 20 years. You see what happened last night, by the way? Guys, the catcher hit 60 homers. Kind of a big deal.
That's
awesome. Never happened ever. But you get my point with Utah is becoming, to your point, a sports hub, and we're outside Vegas, man. We got people. We have football. We have the NFL down the streets, 5 hours away, an hour flight, right? We have a team. So I'm fascinated to see. Shout out to the Mormon Temple, by the way. That's almost done. That's going to be a shining light there, right?
Wrap that thing up.
So they got Temple Square done. They have the arena done, and now our hockey team, right, has a name, and we're thinking about doing some baseball, and we have this. Just we got 2.5 million people. That's a lot. That's a lot of sports, man. It's a lot.
Like you, I would be curious about what it would look like if there's another pro sports franchise here.
It's just a lot, man.
The corporate money that goes around is limited. I shouldn't say it's limited. There's plenty of money to go around, but there is a limit on how many sponsorships the Jazz, the Mammoth, the Real Salt Lake, how thin you can spread your market as far as corporate dollars goes is a real conversation. But
they call those bubbles, right?
We're going to learn.
Sports bubbles.
We're
sometimes St. Louis had it.
We're a little bit in one, I think, with Utah. But the thing is that we are in a region where it can be more sustainable, right? Because St. Louis, yes, you have the Rams, you had the Rams, you have things that are attracting you there,
too.
But you don't have the Olympic Park, and you don't have Olympic athletes here. You don't have, winter sports and extreme sports. There's a different tie-in for Utah that maybe I think makes it more sustainable. No?
Well, and absolutely. Okay, that's definitely true.
St. Louis, I don't really know what else there is to do outside of it.
There's other towns that Tampa Bay is kind of going through that a little bit.
Uh-huh.
Some of these towns that they get, even Orlando.
They got the beach at least.
Well, Orlando, right? They're always a threat to lose the magic. But, obviously Disney owned them for years, and I think Amway does now. But these smaller markets, it's hard to sustain 5 or 6. And we don't do Sundays in Utah. At least half the state doesn't. So that's interesting. All in all, though, I'd be happy to see all those sports. I wouldn't mind. I would love to have access to all that. Who wouldn't? It's just You know how that goes, man. It's just and we got BYU and Utah. That's a big deal too now. UVU has baseball now. They're pretty good. I mean, this is turning into like a sports mecca.
If you were, because I know you're an idea man. When it comes to idea men, you're one of the main idea men I know.
I'm a hillbilly. I know solutions only. I never see problems. Right? There's always solutions.
If you were a billionaire, what would you bring to Utah?
Well, that's a great question. Okay, I don't think I would bring anything necessarily except in the sports ways. I think racing, though. I'd like to see racing, and it may already be on the docket here. But
I like that you brought that up because I grew up in my mom's side of the family are like race car drivers.
There you go.
And grew up a lot of it out in Tooele. Which I don't know if you've ever been out to Miller Motorsports Park. It's now under different ownership.
Chinese own it, don't they, or something?
I think it is Chinese ownership. I don't know exactly what the details are, but man, they have the Grand Prix out there. I grew up racing go-karts out there. There used to be Rocky Mountain Raceway where they had a bunch of drag racing and small oval races. My family grew up on the dirt tracks doing stock car racing out here. And there has been a drop in that community since Larry Miller died, to be quite honest with you. He had the Le Mans type cars out there doing a bunch of events.
I used to work for the Millers a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
That whole family, they're go-getters, man. They can bring the energy, man, and that was a huge loss to your point. I mean, massive.
Motocross, they do their title here from time to time. I know it's not every year, but when I was younger, it was annually. The title was in Salt Lake City.
Yeah, I want an F1 race here,
and they brought it back for that reason. But to your point, there is a pretty healthy motorsports market here, and you can see with those one type events, maybe something more sustainable. I like your thoughts.
Wouldn't F1 be fun?
Oh, it would be awesome.
I know that's kind of a stretch, but I think Vegas has it. That's right down the street.
Vegas got F1. Miami, Miami did one.
We've hosted 2 Olympics now. We're going to be hosting 2 Olympics.
Yeah, why couldn't you do F1?
We can do F1. I'd like to see that. I used to go to I go to B's games though, so I think we already got.
You know where F1 ownership is?
Where?
Out in the desert in the Middle East. So maybe you can get on a plane, a plane and go do some dealing.
Man, the Saudis don't want to hear from me anymore.
No?
I was the boy who cried wolf to those guys. We couldn't put a deal together. Gosh dang it.
Come on.
Hey, man.
Get in contact with your old friends and let's get F1 into Utah.
I'll tell you what, it would be possible because I wouldn't have to deal with anybody's administration. I call it the 5th floor.
There you go.
The NCA people that
you don't have to work with those guys anymore.
No, I don't. Gosh dang.
At least not for now.
That's a thought. We go over there and cowboy it up a little bit and see if we can get together.
F1 in Utah. I like your ideas.
Man,
there, like I said, there is a healthy community of sport car motor sport fans here. So whatever it may be, they'll show out for that. And I know a lot of F1 fans actually in my circles as well.
Dude, this place would be rocking. They'd have 1 million people there, I think. It'd be crazy.
I grew up going to some NASCAR events in Vegas even, and half the people I knew there were from Utah. They're traveling in.
You look like you went to a few NASCAR events in Vegas.
My family loved it. I never fully dove in, but I would go and have a good time.
I grew up.
It's pretty fun.
Those dirt track cars.
Jimmy Johnson was my guy.
Oh, he's from San Diego, East County, El Cajon.
I like greatness, and he won like every race.
From a great city, okay? So got respect to Mr. Johnson. But dirt track racing, I was just going to bring it. That's where he started. East County, El Cajon. I used to go out there with a guy named Tim Gangle, my neighbor from Kansas. And his son and me and my brothers used to go see some. I don't know the names of cars, man. I'm not like that in that type. But I was watching.
If you're on a dirt track
that slide out,
those drifters with the big wings on them.
There you go.
I don't know exactly what they have. So many classifications. Even within those cars, there's probably 10 or more different classifications, but to your point.
Yeah, racing, I think we're so competitive here, okay? We're so competitive in this state. I think that's on the next. For me, I'm not looking forward to. I've seen the Rockies, man. Have you seen what they did this year? 40-something wins. Are you kidding me?
The one thing, Trevor, in racing is people like to put money on it, and Utah is not kind to it. So you got to.
Wendover is right next door. Okay, we act like we don't have casinos here. Are you kidding me?
And we got our friends at Prize Picks. Promo code ESPN 700.
Or you can go to Wyoming and do whatever. People buy lottery tickets there. I guess I'm not an advocate for gambling, so I don't think about it anymore. I'm banned in Wendover for good reason. And Yeah, we got a casino here, dude. We got freaking Dover. It's right down the street. Who's not taking the fun bus?
We have a texter who claims that rumblings of F1 actually coming here after the Vegas contract was canceled. I like to speak about that before we confirm it, just to give the texter some love.
Let me tell you what.
But hey,
Real Housewives, Mormon.
Why not?
Real Mormon Housewives. What's the name of the show? Mormon Housewives.
Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, I guess.
Yeah, all that stuff is bringing a bigger
Shout
light.
out Coach Shaw.
I'm telling you, dude. I'm telling you, man. Women are now they know about Utah. Okay, they got some characters on these TV shows. Half the population, man, they know about East Coast. They know where the Mormons are at. We're getting some pub there and international, for heaven's sakes.
Well, we'll keep pumping the energy for some more motorsports in Utah. The foundations here, the facilities are awesome. Like I told you, I used facilities for our go-karts when I was a kid that were like built for Formula cars and should have been used by Formula cars.
That's dangerous.
They're just out there in Tooele.
That's wild, man. I know a guy out there who's got some tanks.
Put them to good use.
Okay, Tooele is like.
You should introduce me to that guy.
Well,
I want to know a guy with some tanks.
My sister used to date this guy named Marshall, and he lived for him, and he was his care tent. He took care of the place. They had tanks, dude, in Tooele. Tooele's a crazy place.
For those of you joining us, that is our first segment of the show. We talked about motorsports and finished off with Trevor's friend in Tooele.
That's right.
There you go. That's 30 minutes of adjacent sports talk here in Utah. The Drive. Hey, it's called The Drive. Why aren't we talking more motorsports?
You love that pun, don't you? That's just a beautiful. That was like those cards, man. I agree. We should be having a little car in the logo. Shouldn't we see a car? Yeah, F1 car. There you go.
All right, Trevor. We're going to get to the other side. Sam Bruckhaus, we're going to not talk F1, no motocross, no go-karts. He's a football guy. So we're going to talk some football with Sam Bruckhaus of Sumer Sports. He's a data scientist for them, an analytics guy on that side. But he also played some ball. He was a Tulsa linebacker once upon a time. So we'll get the latest from Sam, talk some NFL, talk some Big 12 maybe, and go from there. Still to come on the show, Andy Larson of the Salt Lake Tribune. We'll have Bryce Larson of ESPN The Fan. That's right. Me, Porter Larson, Andy Larson of the Salt Lake Tribune, Bryce Larson of ESPN The Fan. 3 blonde Larsons, all from Utah. None of us are related.
And I served my mission in Sweden. That's where that name comes from, Scandinavian. You're Danish?
Correct? Yeah.
Okay? I think Larson's going to – you guys are all Scandies, man. All
Indeed.
Svens.
Indeed, but none of us are related, at least not anywhere close. But they'll all join the show today. And, hey, 5 o'clock, edition with Devin. Sean O'Connell's conversation with QB1 Devin Dampier right here on your home of the Utes, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Welcome back. It's drive time on a Thursday afternoon. Porter Larson here. Trevor Reilly in studio with us. The former Utah NFL linebacker joins us today and tomorrow as well. Filling in for Spence here on Utah's number one sports talk. It's ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. I am the usual producer of this here program. Trevor, kind enough to join me. And like this song, coming to us down from the Bayou, from down south, our next guest, Sam Bruckhouse, a friend of the program, a consistent guest of the show as well. Sam, appreciate your time as always, man. How's it going this week?
My pleasure, man. As you said, I'm down here in the deep south, and I got to say, I usually stay in New York. I can just feel the spirit of college football down here. It's a little different. People love their LSU football, their Alabama football, and I'm getting caught up and excited for Saturday. But of course, I'm ready for this Thursday night game as well between the Seahawks and the Cardinals.
So, are you saying we caught you on a time when you're back in the homeland, and I appropriately played the intro song?
100%, sir.
I love it. How often do you get back home? Is it Lake Charles? Is that where you're from?
That's true. I'm from Lake Charles, Louisiana, which is about 2 hours east of Houston. And us at Sumer have been doing a little high school coverage. So I flew down to Dallas.
Gotcha.
Watched some five-star recruits. Unfortunately, I saw Texas Tech's best 2025 recruit, Ojo, the left tackle, number 6 recruit in the nation. Got to see him play. And then it's just a quick plane ride back to Lake Charles. So,
I love it.
I was able to spend some time down there.
I love it. Yeah, I've got some Lake Charles friends. And McNeese State is close by, right?
That is correct. Both of my parents are alum.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, McNeese is a team that always is playing out here with Weber and some of the smaller schools. So there's some knowledge of that area. We love it. Appreciate it.
Sam, I'm Trevor Reilly, by the way. It's a pleasure to meet you, I guess. How you doing?
Hey, Trevor. Thanks for having me.
Well, Damon Harrison. How about that guy? You ever heard of Snacks Harrison? Lake Charles, Boson High School?
Man, Lake Charles, Boston High School. I went to high school at St. Louis, which is a walk away.
You talk about recruits, man. How about that guy slipping through the cracks and ends up at William and Mary, if I'm not mistaken?
Yeah, it's interesting how it goes, especially down in the South. And as we've started looking at high school more, the programs, particularly in Texas, California, and Utah as well, are very organized. And just the way the school system works, they split up the districts into substantially more schools. So, for example, I was the defensive MVP. I played at Tulane. I was the defensive MVP of District 4-3A in Southwest Louisiana. The offensive MVP was Travis Etienne, who plays for the Jaguars now. And then right behind me, typically was second, is Andre Sam, who plays for the Eagles. So they split it up a little bit more. And because of that, at the time, LCB, or Lake Charles Boston, where Snacks went, was closing. And they were losing a lot of kids. So I guess he kind of slipped through the cracks there, despite being, an absolute specimen of a football player.
Sam, as I ask you this question, I want you to check your text messages. I sent you a couple of graphs that we've been talking about on the show a little bit recently. They are NFL player and FBS college football player origins, right? So where they come from, where their high school was, and it's per capita. So it, takes out the bias of these large population states and how many players they actually produce. And Utah, if you leave SEC country, is the number one place in the country when you're looking for recruits per capita. Just take a look at those graphs I sent you. I'll share them on my social media again for folks who haven't seen them. But take a look at those and give me your impressions of seeing those numbers, and also what your perspective of it was coming in and before this interview.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. This is something, as a Louisianian, I've followed immensely closely. And I think it maps substantially more to college football, even more in recent years than it did in previous years because of NIL. What I've really found out, and we're seeing this with Miami and Utah and BYU, and with some of the other programs, LSU in particular, Texas Tech, for example, as well, is if you're able to build those walls around your state or your locality, you can really put together a program. I was down in Miami earlier in the year watching a 7-on-7 competition, and the amount of five-star talent they have, particularly at the skill positions, is extremely high. And I think because Mario Cristobal has put together a Nick Saban-style recruiting operation, it really makes a huge difference for them. They can snag kids in Miami. I mean, Xavier Restrepo, who now I think is on the practice squad of the Titans if he's still on a roster, but you would have thought he was Jerry Rice. Like the ability of celebrity they're able to create through NIL and through marketing of their program down there allows them to build those walls. And I think Utah and BYU have done an excellent job of that as well, of creating a culture behind both of their programs, ensuring that the kids that need to be there from Utah and the best kids from Utah are staying, and thus being able to win a lot of games and being able to compete regardless of what conference they are in. And I think Utah excels at that. The Louisiana State University and Tulane now as well both excel at that, some of the Texas schools. And it's interesting looking at Mississippi in particular, and Alabama, especially now that, Nick Saban is in Alabama, because they have two major programs who are constantly fist fighting for kids. And I think when you have that happening in relatively small states, but per capita, very talent-rich states, it causes a massive, massive difference. And I think that's why in upcoming years, if we're not able to see Kalen DeBoer put it together, or if y'all want me to talk about the Dabo Swinney issues, I have some interesting takes on that, but God forbid Dabo ends up in Alabama. Yeah, I think it could be tough sledding just because of the way NIL works. If anyone decides to be a big donor at either of those schools, Mississippi State or Ole Miss, it becomes a fist fight for talent in a way that it just isn't for Miami, Utah, and BYU, some of the Texas schools, given those are biggest states, and LSU.
I heard that it's not hard to surmise this, but ever since on NIL, the South is actually hurting as far as generational wealth. They don't have those donors you're talking about. Miami's a different animal. That's not really the South, right? That's more like the Caribbean. But what's your take on that, on these Southern schools? Okay, even Clemson, all right? They don't got money like that. So what's the path for these guys going forward?
Is that just to cut in real quick, and Sam, I'll let you finish. Is that more of maybe like a Big Ten money rising to the SEC level? It seems like the TV money is a part of that conversation too.
Yeah, I think TV money makes a lot. The reality of my view of the situation is that as long as college football is a political sport, and technically most of these schools are government, institutions when you really break it down, and thus have to be governed by the rule of law as a result. We're always the liberal, conservative, down the middle. Everybody wants their football team to be good, and we've seen across the nation courts uphold college football players' ability to earn NIL. We've seen it in more liberal California court cases. We've seen Brett Kavanaugh, a very conservative Supreme Court justice, hold it up. So we will have NIL. We will have these donors, just to set the table there. And I think it comes down to who the person is and where it is. Nobody thinks of Lubbock, Texas as the most wealthy place of all time, but they found two guys who are Permian Basin guys making a lot of money in the oil business, and they're bankrolling that program. You look at LSU. LSU has a lot of oil money, a lot of construction money, and I don't know if you watch any of the telecast, but there is an LNG company, a liquefied natural gas company that is pretty much bankrolling LSU right now. That's why they were able to go snag Brian Kelly from my alma mater, my master's alma mater, Notre Dame, unexpectedly. And so I think it just comes down to timing, enthusiasm, prestige, and history. But as you said, there's rumors that Alabama just doesn't have the money.
I know they don't have it. Have you been to Birmingham? Yeah. Look at the place, dude. They ain't got no money down there. I just left Mississippi, right? I was living in Jackson. They ain't got no money anywhere around there. Ole Miss has a little bit. They got FedEx, right? I'm just thinking about us as far as Utah goes, right? Sorry to cut you off, but I want to ask this question. That's what we're missing right now, okay, just to be frank. We're getting out recruited by BYU because of some money in some areas, but we're also not able to lure some of that skill. But we need some money, man. And so I wanted to ask you, man, is there any way this thing's going to get legislated? What have you been hearing about what's going on in Washington, D.C.? Is Trump thinking about getting involved here? Is it talking about a salary cap maybe? Or what do you think is going to happen?
I think it'll be interesting. And it really comes back to the culture of college football because, Trump has talked about getting involved. There's been discussions about the college football czar. There's been discussions about the college football breaking away from the NCAA and governing itself, which it kind of already does to a certain degree. Anyway, I just really struggle to think that NIL will not be a thing. I think they tried to stop it this year with the third-party Deloitte investigations into if it is true NIL. But at the end of the day, all of these players are being paid because their name, image, and likeness is associated with the sport of football and their ability to play football. And so I think it's going to be a real struggle, primarily because, the honorable this, that, and the third over there in Utah is probably a BYU alum, or in Tennessee, they're a Tennessee alum, and they don't want to lose the ability of their team to be good or to level the playing field. So I think when it really comes down to it, the student right groups or the athlete right groups will be able to pick localities at the federal level that are very pro-player or very pro-program and trying to get those players and thinking that they can get an advantage. And this is how it started out with NIL in the beginning. If you recall, Texas was one of the first states to really start opening it up to NIL, and California was the other one. That's an extremely conservative red state that loves football, and California is an extremely liberal state that loves football. Both of them wanted to get ahead, and I think it's going to continue to be the Wild West. But here's my prediction. I think what we're going to end up seeing is something like European football, European soccer, where we end up having probably 3 divisions. At the top, it'll be the power conferences or the power programs at least, and they'll be regionalized because I think everybody wants that regional stuff back. Look, I'm glad that Utah and BYU are in the Big 12 because we're seeing them be able to play the Arizonas and kind of the more Southwestern teams more generally. But it's just brutal out there for the Pac-12 people. But I think it'll be a top tier, a middle tier, and there can be movement in between there. Say if my Tulane Green Wave have a couple good years, they end up bouncing up until whatever the Southeastern Conference ends up being, if they can really truly compete, or the ACC, or however it ends up working. And I think it'll start looking like that, where the transfer portal will be more of a transfer market. The big dogs will be able to get who they want, but it'll be a little bit more regulated, and the schools will in turn, the schools creating the talent, the University of Louisiana Monroe sending the Ahmad Hardys to Missouri will be able to get compensated in return for fostering that. I think that's the end game. And I think, honestly, you look at the fan bases over there in England and in Spain and in France, and they are just as big time into their programs as we are here. And I think that's the only way to keep the culture of college football and keep it from being like the National Football League or the National Basketball Association in particular. And I know y'all know this being out there in Salt Lake City, where people are just kind of transient fans more than true fans of the program. I think that's the only way to save it, is instituting a situation like that. Well,
the reason why I asked that is yesterday we had a conversation, and we're going to talk to a guy later today. His name's Bryce. He's the color commentator for UVU soccer, among other sports. Mm-hmm. And UVU is famous recently for the news with Charlie Kirk, that was the university. Anyways, they don't have a football team. So there's some people down there that want to that are interested in starting up a team. And, there's rumors that it would take $150 million, but we were talking about numbers. I said, honestly, man, if you got a bus and you got an airplane, these schools, these small schools like ULM, you brought them up. If somebody wanted to go in and start a program at Utah Valley University, if you really think about it, $2 million, and you could outclass ULM almost immediately. Are we on the right track with that, or is that way out in left field?
I think it's interesting, and I think if you look at the middle tier right now, there's some success stories, particularly out west. Sacramento State has been a program that at one point was thinking about getting rid of football completely, and then all of a sudden now they have enough funding to start getting in the cage for 5-star recruits. And they have Brendan Marion out there, who was out at UNLV. They have Mike Bibby, who is their basketball coach, and they just made the decision that they want to start investing in their alumni class. Another one is Tarleton State in Texas. I have a couple friends and old coaches that are out there. They basically have become a dominant program in the past 3 years after, frankly, not really playing at any high level or competing at all. And then a final one, which is kind of I wouldn't call it a failure, but in the Southland Conference, you have Lamar University, which is in Beaumont, Texas, And they basically have started a program within my lifetime. 10, 15 years ago, there was no football program. They started to get it up and running. A very similar thing with Incarnate Word in Houston, very famous for building up Cam Ward and Kenny, who's now at Texas State. They basically were able to put it together. So I think where there's a will, there's a way, particularly in football. Football is a money game right now, and if you're ready to pony up the funds, you can put together a pretty competitive group, at least if you're trying to compete in D3, D2, FCS, and you try to build up from that.
And Trevor and I were talking about this yesterday. Yeah, football is the most expensive sport to put on if you're a college campus, if you're an athletic director. But with where the money is in college sports right now, it's also the most expensive sport to not have on your campus, right? You need to find a way to fund your other athletic programs. You need to find a way to, get people parking in your parking spots and sitting in your stadiums. Well, football is, if you're in this country, football is kind of the way to do it at the college level. Sam, I want to ask kind of along the questions of what we were talking about a little earlier. Utah NFL pipeline, Jackson Dart starting for the New York Giants. They've named him their starter, I guess, for the rest of the year. It seems like that's the feeling in New York, is that they're trying to officially turn the page to one Jackson Dart. You also are familiar with him from your footprint down there in the South. Give us an idea of what you thought of him as a prospect and what you think of him becoming the starter and doing it this early, which I think really all of us would prefer any quarterback to get a little more time to prepare.
So his prospect profile from the beginning at USC, I saw him play in Notre Dame Stadium, going to Ole Miss where we studied him deeply in the Senior Bowl, is that he was more of a point-and-shoot quarterback. He was able to do a first read and run. That was kind of his mentality. And Lane Kiffin, an offensive genius, put him in a system where he could thrive doing that. If he was able to hit his first read, he could hit it accurately and efficiently. After that, it was kind of a question mark, but he was a very effective runner. Unfortunately, at the next level, that means you're putting your body at risk a little bit. But I think that's probably going to be the plan for Brian Daboll facing this Chargers defense, which is extremely, extremely stout. Here's my kind of thoughts on the move itself. I've kind of waffled back and forth on this. I think I'm still in a position that I think they should have stayed with Russell Wilson. I think the trigger was pulled a little too quickly. You look at his game against the Cowboys. We have a Sumer scoring system at Sumer where we're basically evaluating every tenth of a second and comparing it to every other tenth of a second of offensive plays from going back to 2016. So we're able to get a true evaluation based on history rather than just the eye test of how good these players are doing. He had an all-pro level game against the Cowboys. He follows it up with basically you'd expect someone to put up a game like that out of the league against the Chiefs. And so I think when they really took it back and consulted the locker room, they thought to themselves, all right, we know that rookie quarterbacks are risky and that you may have high highs and you may have low lows when it comes to moving to Jackson Dart. But we're already experiencing that with Russell Wilson. We're not going to build with Russell Wilson. And moreover, with the ascendance of Cam Scatterbo, we now have a timeline where we have three premium players in Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterbo, and Malik Neighbors at three skill premium positions where we can start to build something and try to get some chemistry with the offensive line. Here's where that problem comes in, is he's going to line up, and his job is to figure out where Derwin James is week one, literally game one in his career. That is extremely difficult. We talked to Brian Hoyer this week on the Sumer Sports Show. We talked to Mike Mayock as well. Brian Hoyer, longtime backup quarterback. Mike Mayock, a longtime draft analyst and also a general manager in the league. They both said the quarterbacks are a key part of pass protection. I think that is the first place where it's going to go south this week. That's why I don't think they should have made the move yet. I think they should have allowed Russ to see if he could stabilize and kind of wait until a less meaty part of their schedule so that he doesn't have to face a Chargers defense, which has been one of the best the last 2 years and has some absolute veteran talent who are operating on an extremely high IQ level as well as a production level. I think that's going to be a tough task for Jackson Dart, but I kind of see the outline of what they're trying to do.
I'm watching this guy Devin Dampier, our quarterback. Okay, and he reminds me of Wilson in some ways. Okay, my one critique of Wilson, it's hard to win consistently without a big time run game when you're that short. The middle of the field, you know that as a linebacker.
Right.
Puts him in the middle, make him throw in the middle of the field. Dampier, right? We need more plays down the field. With all that being said, we've talked about that ad nauseum around here. I want to get a quick take on his NFL future, if there is one. Have you watched him at all? What do you think? Is he a guy that plays like he did the first three? Is this a draftable guy?
So I've watched him substantially. I was really excited, and I've talked about it many times about his fit in particular on this offensive squad with Utah. The problem last year was quarterback. This year, the goal was to eliminate negative plays, and thus far, Devin Dampier has eliminated negative plays for the most part. The issue is last week we saw him go against an NFL caliber defensive line, and we did see him struggle to, number one, make boom plays, and number two, the question going into that game and going into this year was how bad will that scramble rate, and will his general avoidance of sacks, which generally is great, but he tends to avoid them by scrambling and throwing away rather than, escaping the pocket and trying to make an attempt. And that really killed them against Texas Tech. It threw the offense out of rhythm. It threw the run game out of rhythm as well. And so I think against higher level talent, we're going to see him default to that throwaway and scramble mentality. And I think that's what keeps him from being an NFL level quarterback. I think if anything, he'll end up being kind of like a day three guy, undrafted free agent who maybe gets a shot to be a backup just because he can avoid negative plays at such a high level. I was really shocked that the defensive line of Texas Tech was able to – I'm not going to say they dominated. It was a tight game the entire way, and I think Texas Tech was heavily surprised by the performance of their rookie quarterback coming in relief after a big hit on their starting quarterback. And I think Utah was probably surprised by that. I think that's why the score looks like it does. But for the most part in that game, which I watched every snap of, I was super intrigued about the offensive line versus defensive line matchup. I didn't necessarily see exactly the domination that I wanted to see from the multiple first-rounders across that Utah offensive line, but I think that may show just how talented David Bailey and co. on the defensive line for the Texas Tech Red Raiders were. I still think these are two of the better teams in the nation. I think Texas Tech has the slight edge, obviously. I think they have depth at more positions than the Utes do. But overall, I think Devin Dampier, more of a day three guy, maybe an undrafted free agent. I want to see him make more plays, like you said, over the middle, and I want to see him either turn those scrambles into big runs or turn those throwaways into chunk yardage as we see the quality running style, mobile style quarterbacks do in National Football League before I can kind of bump him up the draft board.
Sam, did you see enough from Texas Tech that you feel that's the lead horse in the Big 12 right now, or are we still too early? I know it's only a week or two into most conference games, but they looked really good, and of course that was the first matchup of the Big 12 season between two teams that Vegas thinks will be involved as the year goes down.
Yeah, I think you got to go with the results of the games, and I think Texas Tech is the clear favorite right now by a hair, obviously, over Utah. I think it does show for Utah their ability to compete because they kept those guys at bay, but I was extremely interested in that defensive line of Texas Tech, and I think their defensive tackles in particular, paired with those edge rushers that came in so highly, is the real difference in this team. You think of the great teams, you can look just to last year of the teams that were challenging for anyone across the country to play for. Ole Miss, Michigan, Texas A&M in the last couple of years have all been challenging. The reason why is because they have 4 and 5 NFL-level talents on the defensive line that can disrupt a college-level offense, and I think Texas Tech has that this year. And I think if they figure out some of the stuff at wide receiver, they end up figuring out the right thing at quarterback, I think they end up being one of the top 10 teams in this nation. I think Utah has some rhythm stuff to figure out on the offensive line, and also a lot of transfers coming in at the skill positions. I think Devin Dampier still has to get on the same page as them, and I'd like to see a little stouter defense. I think they did hold up well, and the rookie quarterback from Texas Tech just played a marvelous game. There wasn't much they could do. It was excellent coverage, and he was throwing dime balls. But I think it's a clear top of the Big 12 with Texas Tech as the 1A and Utah as the 2.
His name is Sam Bruckhouse. He covers football for Sumer Sports. Sam, let the folks know where and when they can look for your content and what you got in the works.
Yeah, check us out, the Sumer Sports Show. As discussed, we talked about Utah native Jackson Dart in depth for over an hour and a half with two of the biggest and most experienced names in the industry, Brian Hoyer, Tom Brady's long-term backup, and Mike Mayock, the former general manager and now a Sumer scout on his own with us. And then also go to our website. We have some great stats, and then the next week we'll be launching our Sumer Brain product. I was a tester of this. You know, AI is out there. It's a real question mark, but if you want to, show your friends that you know what you're talking about, you need fantasy help, we have the wait list up right now. I'm using this a lot in my day-to-day life for radio hits like this and for information about my fantasy teams and to get deeper insights while I'm watching film. Go check that out and get on the wait list. It's a really cool product that I'm really proud of.
Appreciate your time, man. We'll chat next week.
Thank y'all.
Fun stuff there with Sam Bruckhouse of Sumer Sports, as I mentioned, at Sam Bruckhouse. That's Bruchhaus at Sumer Sports. He joins the show weekly.
He's smart, man.
Yeah, smart kid.
That guy knows what he does his homework, dude. That guy
to play linebacker.
That guy's opinion, man. He knows what he's talking about.
Play linebacker at the D1 level. You got to be pretty smart, right?
And he's absolutely.
You got to be smart and a little crazy usually.
He's from a Catholic area in Louisiana. This guy is a Southern gentleman, it sounds like. Okay?
That's
in New York.
That's a perfect example of Sam Bruckhouse.
I'd like to go to dinner with him.
Good introduction.
Great guest, man.
Always appreciate his time. Hey, brought to you today by IFA Country Stores. IFA's Step 4 fall and winter lawn food gets you stronger roots now and an early green up next spring. It's the ultimate lawn owner power move. Make your way to your local IFA or head over to ifa.coop for more information. IFA Country Stores, helping to grow the things you love. Back on the other side, some more college football conversation. We'll talk some Big 12. We'll talk some, hey, how about some UVU football, Trevor?
You know it.
Let's make it happen.
Hey, man.
Hey, if they don't want to do it, some other college. What's that one in the middle of nowhere that I passed on the way back from Laramie? It's Western Wyoming.
Yes,
let's do it.
Western Wyoming. Or
I'll do it.
We could go out to Vernal. Isn't there a campus out there? We don't care. Okay, we just want to start. We want some cheese, and we want some players, and we want to play some football, dude.
We'll talk to Bryce on the other side. We'll talk some BYU, some Utah, some Big 12 football with him as well. Still to come in the show, Andy Larson of the Salt Lake Tribune. No relation, not between any of us, interestingly enough. We'll also hear from Devin Dampier, his weekly conversation with Sean O'Connell. That happened earlier today. We'll play that at 5 o'clock. And then at 6 tonight, you'll hear Thursday Night Football. It's the Cardinals and the Seahawks in a divisional rivalry right here on Utah's #1 sports talk and your home of football in the market. It's ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Welcome back. Drive Time on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. It is Utah's #1 sports talk in your home of the Utes for, we still have to confirm it from yesterday. I got to go back and get the exact date. 70-plus years. I'll just tell you that. World War II time. We've been broadcasting a little Utah athletics, and we're still doing it here in 2025. In this segment, which you can hear later on ESPN700sports.com. We'll go all over the map a little bit. Literally, we're going to talk some sports geography. We're going to talk some sports business. We're going to talk a little local college football with our friend Bryce Larson. I am Porter Larson. That is Trevor Reilly. No relation, but we are family here at Broadway Media. What's up, Bryce?
That's right. I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Of course.
A lot of radio for me today.
Bryce and Bianucci in the mornings-ish.
7 to 10 a.m.
Usually live.
Oh, yeah. Live every single weekday.
That is over on ESPN The Fan. A lot of Utah County chatter, but they bridge the gap and talk some pro sports here in the market as well.
It's a lot of Utah football talk in the mornings, too.
There you go.
I will tell you. The morning show over there, me and Jordan, a lot of Utah football talk.
I like it. I like it.
Don't get confused with the afternoon show.
You can hear my voice on that station every once in a while.
That's
talking
right.
some Utah football.
That's right. We very much do a lot of it.
Is there that big of a divide here? Why doesn't anyone want to hear about BYU and Salt Lake? What is that?
It is interesting, Trevor. There legitimately is enough of a divide that historically we have been able to have two completely separate stations here, and they respectively get completely separate audiences and numbers and ratings and good ratings between the two. It genuinely is an interesting split.
Down south, they call that separate but equal.
Some of them like to cross borders. A lot of them really don't. You find out when it comes to the fans.
That is true. But you know what? We're doing a little bit of a test over there in the mornings. 7 to 10 a.m., we do everything. It's NFL, it's Utah football, it's BYU football.
And in the podcast, in the digital age, why not?
You can pick and choose.
You can pick and choose what you want to listen to. Hey, if you want to listen to us three live right now talking about maybe a little high school football, this is the 15 minutes for you. If you don't, turn the channel off, go to our podcast page, go over the website, and find something else that you like. Just stay on our stay on our sphere.
We're going to make this the best 15 minutes in history radio right here now.
I want to continue the last conversation we had a little bit because, Bryce, you're a good topic, a good person to have talk about this topic.
Sure.
We talked with Sam Bruckhaus about Utah, and I'm not talking about the University of Utah. I'm not talking about BYU. I'm not talking about Corner Canyon. I'm talking about the whole Utah culture of football and the results that you've been able to get from it, the results you've seen from it. I brought this graph up for our friend Sam Bruckhaus yesterday. I'm going to give our YouTube listeners a little – it's on my social media. Shout out to Ted Grouch. He is a sports geographer out at Northwest Missouri State University. He does this every year. It's your player origins for FBS football. Utah is 5th when it comes to FBS player origins. The 5 states, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana. The next one when it comes to FBS player origins per capita, Utah.
Can you send me that?
They beat Texas on that list, okay?
Wow.
On the NFL side, Georgia, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Florida, Utah. Those are the only states that beat Utah. You leave SEC country, and when you want to find an NFL football player, now you may have to drive a little further if you come to Utah, right? But per capita, it is the #1 place outside of SEC country to get both college and football and NFL football players right now. I think it's remarkable. I think it's awesome. It's a stat that I love to continue to follow and look at every year. But Bryce, it's also not new. You've been calling high school games. You've been kind of in that sphere a little bit more than us. Can you give some insight into how it's possible and how you've seen it over the last couple of years? Jackson Dart is starting for the Giants this week.
It's incredible. I mean, we just saw Zach Wilson not too long ago get drafted in the top couple picks in the NFL draft. I mean, the talent has exploded in Utah high school football over the last 10 years. It's incredible how good Utah high school football truly has become. And one other thing that you brought up there is, why might it be that we see so many football players go and play college football. How crazy is it that the state of Utah can sustain 6 different Division I football programs,
right?
Whether it's FCS or FBS, and that's why I personally think we should never bring the NFL here because it'll kill the college scene.
We got the Raiders.
It'll change it for sure.
We don't like Sunday sports anyway, man.
So I'm a advocate of don't bring the NFL here to Utah because everybody's so passionate. Even if it's just SUU, Weber State, or Utah Tech at the FCS level, how incredible is it that we can sustain 6 different with the population that we have?
I've been to college football games in Ephraim with good environments, like fun environments, and that's kind of a testament to where the culture underneath, right? It's all the college teams and college programs that are succeeding, but it's also all those guys that went there and then played at the NFL and then came back. It's Lodi Nata. It's, all, you look at the staff at BYU, bunch of former NFL guys that either played here in college or are from here and decided after their NFL careers to come back. It's really exciting to watch. And then, you look at, just watch on Sunday. Jackson Dart, Puka Nakua. You're going to see Jalen Johnson, who was an intern here a few years ago. His paycheck is a lot better than it was back then, right? It's just really fun to watch, man. And as it continues, I think there's an opportunity, especially if there's no pro football here in the near future. It can only get better. Well, especially the population's growing.
Just to piggyback on both those, even at the very bottom here, okay, Utah Islanders. Okay, you mentioned Snow College. Well, we're the Islanders. We're playing them, right? St. George Eagles, the Raptors. I got a receiver right now that Utah would love to have. He's unbelievably 6'3". He's 220. He can run in the 4.5s. And so we got guys even at the very bottom. I got a couple linemen, man, tearing people up. And so, as we see this state explode onto the national scene, I mentioned it yesterday, when you have high school coaches who are as good as some of these guys are, it reverberates all the way down to the Pop Warner levels.
Well, and Bryce, you just talked about the 6 programs at the D1, FCS, or FBS level. Oh, and then you add on top of that, hey, Trevor Reilly's putting together a ragtag group of guys and going and destroying a college in California to the point where you're getting games canceled.
We had 2 canceled. They're 95% local kids. So, I mean, the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah, the proof is on the field. The proof is on the field.
We didn't have headsets. They had a broadcast team, okay? It was a 3-score game, and they had a bunch of kids from L.A., and we had a bunch of kids from Utah. We mopped the floor with them.
We still love you, Laverne College.
Look at Corner Canyon going to Florida and playing against West Broward, one of the biggest schools in Florida, and kicking them around.
I didn't know
on
that.
the road in Florida.
Yep,
that's big time, man.
And look how good these teams are that leave the state of Utah and go play. Yeah, Lone Peak against Bishop Gorman didn't go the way they wanted it to, but they still compete when they leave the state of Utah and play some of the best football around the country. Like, we're talking some of the best high school football across the country. Maybe not the top of the top,
right?
Once you start getting past the Lone Peaks and the Corner Canyons, but you still have so much talent on these rosters.
Well, let me give a shout out to Anton Palapoy, okay, and Lei Tomo Val.
Yes.
And Seni Vaunuku, Brian Blecken, even I ran into another day the white receiver from the 08 team, 09 team, okay, Braden, okay, Braden Godfrey. These guys, John Madsen.
Okay, yeah.
Madsen's worth about $40 million now, doing crazy stuff. But these guys are all training players. I call them the gatekeepers. They're picking up kids at 10 years old and walking them through till they're 18.
Shout out to my guy Skylar Main, who is now at BYU. I watched him literally create in a lab NFL players.
Yes,
and it's
Dave Stroshine, same thing.
Really cool to watch.
Yeah, and so these little mini academies and programs have been building these monster athletes, dude. Yeah. And you have these great families, obviously, the Kafusis and all these people, man. And so my question is, do you see this thing becoming more of an academy situation? Meaning these high schools are public, right? But why would you not have an academy that's linked to the school, man?
No doubt. I think that when we talk about the collegiate sports going to more of a professional model, I think what we actually need to go to is more of like a European type of model where not only do we see promotion and relegation because you get more merit-based results there on the field, But when you look back at the way that you develop the players, like you just mentioned, academies, right? Why did A.J. Dibansa come and play high school basketball in the state of Utah down in St. George?
For that exact reason.
The number one recruit in the nation left Brockton, Massachusetts to come to Utah and play high school basketball. RSL Academy, they're already starting to try and do it. And it's not just soccer. They play basketball. They're starting Wasatch Academy, one of the top basketball. So I think that at some point, yes, it will go to these more academy styles where they're pulling kids in 10 years old and, hey, you start running them in the same scheme, the same system. You get them going. They understand what's happening. They learn it from.
What about Messi?
That's right.
How old was he when they grabbed him from over there in Argentina? 14, 12?
He was a young kid.
So just to cross the bridge to soccer, are we doing that here in RSL and with UVU? I know UVU has a great men's soccer team. They're nationally ranked, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Are we seeing that already at the soccer level out here in the state of Utah?
The soccer level, yes. And I think basketball is probably doing it the best.
There's a culture in soccer that breeds it a little bit more, but I think people are catching on that, especially if you're not getting, and in football, you're not getting the academic connection as directly. You got to have it as this club, as this entity that's also got some private interest, that's also has like their own identity. And yeah, I think you're seeing a little bit of it in basketball. RSL actually has their own basketball team. And you mentioned it, Wasatch Academy, some of these high schools that started out as just normal high schools out in the middle of Utah, but because of the way that they are situated, because of the way that they are able to bring in students, they can kind of just go recruit. It was funny. I played 2A basketball, and Wasatch Academy was one of our main competitors, and they had kind of started that process where they were going and getting some of the best young players in the world, in the country. They were going and getting kids from Canada and bringing them to Mount Pleasant, Utah, to play 2A basketball. Now, they figured out that maybe
not good competition.
Bring the tables. The tables are a little mismatched when you do that. But for the first couple of years, man, it was some of the best competition I have ever faced in my life. And you could see that it was growing into something different, right? When, you've got this 7-foot freak athlete who's coming into a tiny farm town gym. You're like, whoa, there's something in the works here. And they've turned it into like a national name.
And on the soccer side of things, you mentioned, is soccer doing this? Well, RSL Academy's there, but you know what? Because the United States hasn't quite caught up in that, right? Liverpool Academy has opened up down in Utah County. Liverpool has come in, and they have seen American talent, and they say, why don't we put an academy in Utah? And they opened it up, and now there's kids playing for Liverpool at the age of 10 years old, and they work them all the way up. And you know what their end goal is? They want to take American talent and ship them off to Liverpool and take them to England at one point and take them out of the United States. So
amazing,
my whole point is that if we don't get serious about this, all of our talent's going to take off.
Do you guys remember when the SEC came in here and signed a couple guys?
Oh, yeah.
It was kind of a big deal. I think Alabama
The kid from Cottonwood.
That's it.
Quarterback.
Yes.
Spacing on his name right now.
His name, he ended up being a Ute. Okay. Good guy,
Cooper.
Too. Cooper Bachman? No.
Bateman.
Excuse me. Cooper Bachman was a distance runner from Valley Center High School. Got caught up with a teacher. Interesting story. Another day. Anyways, I got to tell you about this.
Let's dive deep into that one.
Well, I have this idea.
Got a couple minutes.
Well, Utah and BYU. Okay, that's what I want to talk about as far as football. I've been pitching this. They should be having their own academy. Why would they not have levels? Who wants to cut guys every year? Send them down. Get them a year, right? Let them redshirt for a year. If you have a place where you have full control from the age of 16, we'll say, all the way till you get them at 19, that helps us not lose talent, right? You guys remember when we lost that kid? It was like, what the freak? I remember when SC came in here and grabbed Havili.
Yep.
You guys remember that? That was a huge deal, dude. They have a tailback.
Tennessee just came in and
there you go.
took Moa.
I called out Ben yesterday.
Both the Sewell boys.
Come on, Ben. We got to have that. We got to have that kid, dude. If it's about money, we'll figure that out. But gosh dang it. Yeah, so I'm hoping to see some of this movement in college football because we got to get a little more organized, man. It's a little bit helter-skelter, I would say. And I like your regulation idea, man. I'd love to see a team like Utah State go win 11 games and then they get to, they can play with the big boys.
Man, if only it wasn't too late to get that thing going.
Man,
Promotion and relegation is the way.
I think especially for college football and basketball where, you see a Cinderella in the Sweet 16 and that team, because of that influx of what they did and merit-based movement, now they get to play with the big boys. They get a D1 schedule the next year. And the worst team in Division I, sorry, you're moving down.
Yeah.
I think it would be really fun. I think it would add an element to the sport that would keep a fun culture around it, as you guys were saying. And it keeps everyone engaged, right? In college football today, you lose a game or two and you're not one of the top 15 teams in the country, your whole state might check out of college football, right? Yeah. You guys have seen it around here where both BYU and Utah aren't good, right? Even if they're just middle of the road, people don't care. People don't care about college football if the teams aren't good.
Right.
Definitely a front-runner sport.
It'd be fun.
Look, even Major League Soccer needs to go to promotion and relegation because look at the product that we're getting down in Sandy this year. You can't be proud of what we're seeing this year out there on the pitch.
It's. I think it is for sports. It is the best proven concept, and look how long they've been doing it, and look how long it's worked over there. I'm with it.
We're just slow. I lived in Sweden, and I got to see this firsthand. And I also played in London, and when I played in London, I got some sick tickets from Crystal Palace. They hooked it up, dude. So me and Dexter McDougal and my brother went to this game, and you wouldn't even know Crystal Palace because it's not really a big-time team, but they had their little community, and so we go to this game. It's a little stadium, and it's packed. And, they're middle of the pack or something in the Premier League. But you get the point, to your point about staying engaged. If you know there's a farm system, right, and, we got this guy next year, it's akin to listen. I listen to the guys in New York City talk about minor league baseball. Who the heck figured that one, dude? These guys are talking minor league ball in Boston, New York, in spring training time, and they're really talking about these players as if they're guys, dude. And so I can see that happening. We're so obsessive about competition. We talked about that in the last hour. We really have an opportunity to get organized and to make this thing so we don't lose talent. That I don't want to see Moa's kid out of the state, dude.
Right.
That upsets me. If he goes to BYU, okay, but now he has his own dreams and ambitions. But that's one of those that we got to have him now. Gosh dang, those are the ones that hurt.
We talked to Sam Bruckhouse in the segment before. You kind of build a wall around your state, try to keep those guys in, and it'll just keep feeding that football culture. There's always going to be guys that escape. You're always going to have the Panay Sewells who gets an offer from every team in the country, right? And you're not going to keep some of those guys, but man,
we comp to Louisiana
helps.
though. Okay, LSU, they made a fortune doing this over the years.
Uh-huh.
They draw a line around that bayou, right? It's hard to get in and get kids out of there. They want them, they usually get them. And that's a model for us. We're a small state. We're what do they call mini market. We're not a big dog yet. I think you're onto something with that regulation. That's why I keep saying this. The feds are going to get involved here at some point. They did before in the NCAA. They have before in the NFL. I just think it's coming. That they're going to have to. I don't like that necessarily, but I think it's going to have to come.
And that's what Cody Campbell is pushing for. You see him on the commercials every single weekend during college football. The Texas Tech mega donor. He's on the commercials. He's pushing for the feds to get in and the government to really start to regulate college sports so that they can save college sports. But I don't know if that's the road we want to go down.
It's being run by AU basketball guys.
It's hard because there's pros and cons, right? Number one, that at least gives you a landing spot. That gives you some finality. It takes you away from what has been a really confusing, really tumultuous few years of, how do we recruit this? How do we, we can't really find a rhythm when it comes to recruiting and getting guys in the room.
It's a disaster.
It is a
disaster.
disaster.
You might lose 2 semesters
exactly.
going to a different school.
Or you may never play football again. A lot of kids that are going through that. So the good part is that it puts guardrails in place. The bad part is that the reason Cody Campbell wants that is because he wants all of that power in hands of people like Cody Campbell, which, listen, he's doing right for Texas Tech. He's doing right for his alma mater and for the Big 12 and for some of the big dogs. But there's also a reality that private equity side of sports, the further it pulls towards that, the further we get to the Big 10, the SEC, making their own thing, making their own club. Yeah, we may be a part of it.
No, we're getting in, dude.
And
listen.
We will. I think Utah does. I think BYU does. But at the same time, what does that mean for Utah State, UNLV, Weber State, Snow College, Sacramento State, Boise State? I could keep going for an hour listing teams that it's going to be really difficult for in the future. And that's a reality of college football that in the next 25 years, I think we're going to have to see. And I don't know how pretty it looks.
I know this. NCAA basketball works out pretty well, and no one gives a darn about conference champions. Who won the Big 12 last year? Anybody? I don't know.
Probably Kansas.
Don't care, though. That's because
was it Kansas?
It's the NCAA tournament.
Doesn't Kansas win it every year?
Mike Leach said it best. Why don't we just go to 64, dude? Basketball does it.
I'll be honest. I'll be honest with you.
It's a lot of football.
It is a lot of football.
10 games, dude. No more of those 3 warm-ups, dude. 10 games. We hop right into it.
I have talked about this a little bit as well, where expanding the playoffs more and more, even though a lot of people argue that it dilutes the regular season, that it dilutes the postseason, I kind of disagree. I think that if you use a regular season basically as seeding and you give major access to the tournament part of the sport, you're going to get more engaged, more energy around that tournament, even if it's a month long, right? Even if it's – here's the other thing. Even though we don't have that huge expansion of the playoffs, they still put a freaking month in between the championship game and some of the Final Four. Like –
they've slowly expanded every year. They went from 2 teams to 4. Now it's at, what is it, 12? 12? And I'm just saying, let's
16.
Go, 16. There, let's go all the way, dude.
So, if you keep going and going, there's a certain limit that you're obviously going to kind of saturate it. You don't want to go too far. But I think more access to the tournament, to meaningful football, actually is beneficial for like the energy, the attention around it.
I just think that if you had a conference champion at Sacramento, what league is Sacramento State in? Is it the Big Sky still?
Big Sky.
Okay, whoever wins the Big Sky, you're in.
For one more year.
There you go, for one more year. Okay, if it met UNLV, to your question about them, if you win the Mountain West, you're in. Just like whoever UVU got into basketball, the tournament, they won their conference, correct? They won their conference tournament.
Not yet.
They got in the NCAA tournament before in basketball.
Nope. Never been in the NCAA tournament.
Well, they need to win that. I thought Dick Hunsaker got it done. I guess he didn't.
No, they won the regular season title that year, but then they haven't won the conference.
But we have a way in. If we win, we know we're getting in.
Yeah,
that's a nice feeling to have as a fan base. There's always hope, even if you don't win. So I'm seeing this thing, and the more and more I see it, I think Leach was right. It's inevitable, man. People want it too much. And Porter, you were right about this. There's too much money involved to not do it.
And, hey, if you're getting rid of those 3 preseason games, right, and you're worried about, okay, where does the money come from for a smaller school that is using that preseason game to fund their department? Well, if they go win their conference tournament and get into the college football playoff, even if they get washed off the floor, they're a 16 seed versus the 1 seed.
How about Butler?
In basketball, we know they're going to get swept off the floor, the 16 versus the 1 seed. But we still give them that opportunity because they've earned it, because they deserve it, and because now they get to pay to play, right? Whereas the pay to play before was some preseason game that didn't mean anything in August, in September, early September. Let's do it late in the year. Let's do it when these teams have played their way through a season. And, like you said, Trevor, what do we have? 20-something conferences in college football?
Let them in.
Let them in.
Want to play? Let them in, dude. You're going to get smoked here or there, but let them. I remember when Appalachian State went up to
it happens.
Michigan and whooped. That was a big deal. And I know this. Brad Stevens and my man Hayward don't get enough credit for what they did at Butler, especially Stevens. They went back to back, so it's possible. This is why we watch, man. Everyone likes to see those stories. I just think it's inevitable. Why not just let's get to the end? Let's get to the end. We know what's coming.
Right.
Regulation, relegation, whatever, or full tournament.
Relegation, excuse me. Maybe Bryce, voice of UVU athletics, maybe a team down there too. I don't know.
Yeah, that's right.
I think we should
get
that
a thing
team
rolling, huh?
Okay, there's a couple big guys down there. They got some money. I'm telling you, wouldn't cost that much. But I mean, why not? Let's have that conversation because the picture you just painted. We should be involved. And Porter, you're telling me there's enough talent here, right? You showed me the graph.
There's enough talent here for football. That's for damn
sure. Add another.
I'm on the field, and I know it works. We just had some results.
We have 6. What's 7, right?
Come on, man.
There we go.
Get it rolling.
All right, Bryce. Let folks know when, where they can listen to you, and what you got in store I know it's a big week in the Big 12. You guys are covering a lot of sports down there as well, but yeah, give folks a lowdown on Bryce and Bianucci in the mornings and where they can hear it.
Yeah, no doubt. 7 to 10 a.m. every single weekday morning on 103.9 and 98.3 ESPN The Fan. So just flip on over to the 103.9 or 98.3 FM dials during your morning drive. You'll hear us. We'll talk a lot of Utah football, me and Mr. Bianucci. In fact, we talk so much Utah football, they trust us to fill in for Sean O'Connell.
There you go.
So you can hear us tomorrow on the Sean O'Connell Show. I won't be hosting my normal show in the morning. I will be around 9:20 or so to do some college football picks for the weekend. But starting next week, Monday, I'll be back in the captain's chair. You can hear us 7 to 10 a.m. on 103.9 or 98.3 FM.
But in the meantime, yeah, stick over on ESPN 700. Bryce will be here doing OC show tomorrow. And appreciate your time. Thanks, dude.
No doubt. Appreciate you guys.
Back on the other side, more of the drive. Porter Larson, Trevor Reilly over there. How about a little PGA leaderboard update from our friends at You Into Golf? Andy Larson, still to come in the show today, our friends at Sports Court. Devin Dampier, dishing with Devin. You'll hear that a little bit later as well. Still to come on the drive. Porter and Trevor taking you through it on this Thursday afternoon. How about IFA Country Stores? Step 4 with IFA. It's the fall and winter lawn food. Stronger roots now and an early green up next spring. It is the ultimate lawn owner power move at IFA and IFA.coop. IFA Country Stores, helping to grow the things you love. Back with a PGA Tour leaderboard update on the other side on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Back inside the downtown studios of ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Of course, our AM and FM signals there. You can also join us on ESPN700sports.com on the digital side or wherever you happen to podcast. If you missed our conversations from earlier, you can get them all on the website as well. Trevor Reilly with me. Trevor, you a golfer?
I retired, until 2 weeks ago. I played with Thrive Capital, great group of guys at the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and I killed it. Okay, I had no pressure because I'm terrible. I haven't played in 3 years. I hit fairways, dude. I was crushing the ball. All right, couldn't finish around the greens, but we were playing a scramble. So I gotta say, I did the best I could, and I delivered. All right, I was a good teammate. But do I golf? No, I don't. Do I have the skills? Yes.
I was going to say, it's kind of how I am, right? I'm a good enough athlete that you throw me out on a golf course, and during the course of a round, I'll hit a good shot. If it's one of the ones that counts during a scramble or whatever you do, great, right? But putting a round together, good round,
I don't have that.
that takes years, I think, of reps and dedication and practice. It's the easiest sport to play. I'll see if you agree with me. It's the easiest sport to play and maybe the hardest to master.
I would agree. Okay, it's just the simple physics of the game. You want to stick this ball in this hole from this far away with a stick.
Right.
It's hard, very hard. With that being said, you don't have to be a great athlete to be a good player either. So that's why it's the ultimate mind game, I call it. Now, some of those guys that can really stroke the ball, they can have an advantage. But I've seen plenty of guys play the short game. PK. PK?
Mm-hmm. The other station.
The other station.
We won't mention their name.
Drive over 220. Dude, he'll mop the floor with me.
Right.
And golf's a great game to hang out with your fellas. It takes too much time for me at this point in my life. I'm saving it for when I don't want to spend so much time hanging out with some fellas on the course.
That's fair. I like
later
that.
In life. Maybe
I like that. Ryder Cup do anything for you when it's the countries, when it's a little different than golf? I mean, golf is such an individual sport that the one time where you add some patriotism to it, if you will, it seems like a fun event, and there's so much energy around it.
Everybody loves a good fight, and that's what this is. They don't get paid for this. They're in there just to stick it out and fight. I like it, I like the competition aspect of it. I'm not going to say that I'm going to follow every round, but you better bet on Sunday I'm going to be tuning in, especially if it's close. What do you think about this Tiger Woods thing, his league? Did you like that?
So, no. I didn't like the simulator thing. I've never been able to get into I'll go and hit some balls on a golf simulator and have some wings and drink a beer. Sure, that's fine. But for a competitive event, I'm not going to waste my time watching it. Go to Top. If you want to hang out with your billionaire friends in golf, go to Top Golf. I don't need to see it on ESPN. Respectfully.
That's an interesting take. I think there's enough fanatics out there.
People watched.
Dude, I got a brother-in-law right now, Mike Steckling. Okay, this guy lives and breathes golf.
Uh-huh.
But he was an offensive lineman. He picked up the game, and now he's gotten really good at it. He's in his mid-30s, and he mops the floor with me, dude. When we first started playing, I was beating him. And as I said earlier, I think that golf's one of those sports that as you get older, you tend to appreciate it more because you said it. It's easier on your body than most other sports.
Right.
We've been talking a lot about competition today and all this stuff. It's just amazing to me that there are people who will watch a golf simulator.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at them. I'm just that's where we're at now. Is people want that? They want to feel that, I guess, a little bit. They want to see the guys, and it's just interesting. Dude.
I mean,
it's an
Trev,
interesting take on that.
People will watch the YouTube stream of the guy that's playing on that golf simulator, right? We're in a space where I don't understand it, to be honest with you. I don't understand how that part of culture where streaming just your everyday life and people, instead of going out and living theirs, they tune in and watch. That's a big thing now. And Bryson DeChambeau has his YouTube channel. These guys have their YouTube channels, and they'll be going live during this event, and someone will be watching on ESPN, but they'll also be watching this stream of these guys being their own celebrity. It's very meta. There's a lot going on. For me, I keep it pretty basic with my sports consumption.
It's like a golf paradise for ADHD people.
Yeah.
You got everything you need and very quickly, and it's just, the world
crazy.
is crazy. You asked me about golf. I watched that last year. I tuned in.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, what is this? And it was interesting. I'm not saying I loved it, but it was interesting.
What interests me more is Tiger's building a course here. I don't know if you knew that.
We're at.
He built he built a course overlooking Jordanelle.
There you go.
It's going to open, it's going to open to those who can buy some dirt.
You know where Victory Ranch is up there?
It's close to there, yes.
We had that tournament, that Make-A-Wish Foundation tournament.
So I worked up there. I worked at Victory for, I don't know, 3 years, 4 years.
Do you remember when it first opened?
Yeah.
Were you there for that? Were you around that time?
A little bit off and on. So it was interesting. They opened, and then they had some issues financial-wise, and then they reopened, and have been good going since then. But that's kind of the story with a lot of those country club private places. They get them built, and then they go bankrupt, and then they get some folks. Then they get
Red Ledges?
money running in. Yeah, Red Ledges is still up there.
Rich Day put that whole thing together. You know him. There's some people in this town, dude. It really, really this is a sports town. Now you're telling me Woods is building a course here. Jordan used to live here. This is like the secret's kind of getting out here. This is the place, as Brigham said.
That is one thing I agree with old Brigham Young on. This is the place.
The place, baby. By the way, you know who else is in the long ball hitter? Hans Olsen.
Oh yeah.
He can't drive over 250.
Look
dude.
You said he's not a long ball hitter.
Not a long ball hitter. He'll mop the floor with me.
I'm sure he could if he wanted
big
to.
Giant with that club. One time on a tee box.
That big meathead. I'm sure he could smash a ball if he wanted to.
We were on a tee box one time. Okay, I know where we were at. We were at Cedar Hills.
Okay.
And I said, Hans, and we've been playing for a little bit here or there. And I said, Hans, let me see how strong you are, dude. Let's wrestle. He's like, what do you mean? I said, look at you. So I clinch up with this guy. He picks me up and hip tosses me onto the ground. And then steps up and hits a 240-yard drive. I'm like, what the freak is this, dude? But my point is about golf again. I'm fascinated by the interest. I mean, you got people watching it basically as a Twitch stream, is what you're telling me. It's fascinating that people will do that. And Utah is a golf state. It's now, what I'm hearing from you, it's a football state. We've always been a basketball state. It's interesting. It's just, I didn't realize, I've been gone for about 5 years. This place is blowing up.
Well, and now there's a PGA Tour event here in Black Desert down in St. George. So
whatever happened to that? We had the Corn Ferry Tour one in Ogden.
Corn Ferry, I think, still comes through a little bit. We still have the Utah Open. We got some really good non-PGA Tour events that come through Utah. The women, the LPGA has a good event here every year. So, yeah, man, I mean, this is a conversation that we talked about when we came in. All of the sports in Utah contribute to this culture that feeds the football culture, and we didn't even mention golf coming in.
Crazy,
Ryder Cup, though, we'll give you guys coverage of that through the weekend. You can tune into ESPN 700. You'll hear updates throughout the weekend. You can also hear Utah Golf Radio from 8 to 9:30 on Saturday. We're going to kick them off air 30 minutes early because we got Utah football. So I will kick Paul and Jan and our friends off air at about 8:30 or about 9:30, and we'll go from there. Ryder Cup action. Uinta Golf will bring you the PGA Tour leaderboard updates for the weekend. UintaGolf.com, worldwide golf shops. Head over there for the latest in new Titleist, Ping, and Callaway drivers. They got the new AI 10X smart technology at Uinta Golf and UintaGolf.com. All right, Trevor. You mentioned you're not a golfer.
I don't have the time right now. I do like the sport. I just don't have the time. It's a 5-hour ordeal, man. 4-hour ordeal. It's a big deal.
You do got time for some football, though.
Well, who's playing tonight? We got Thursday night football. Who's up tonight?
Arizona and Seattle.
Okay, Seattle looks pretty good.
It's a good divisional matchup.
A good coach too, and the quarterback looks like he's got his stuff together. Old Sammy D.
Well, I was gonna say, give me a little insight on the Seahawks post Pete Carroll, because I think for me, I thought that was gonna be you're gonna see a really different feeling from Seattle. You're gonna see a total reset. They kind of look like the Seahawks we're used to, in a few ways.
How far did Minnesota go last year in the playoffs? Were they out in the first round? I know Sam was there. He had a great season.
Yeah. Anyway, they did lose early, but
so
they looked good.
A little backstory on this guy. Cole Fotheringham is the starting quarterback at San Clemente High School. Then this kid named Sam Darnold, who was a tight end, they moved him to quarterback, and then the rest is history.
And Cole, for those who are trying to gather that name, the former Utes tight end.
Yes.
who was the quarterback before Sam Darnold moved to quarterback.
And so I got to ask him, I said, how does this happen? Because Cole's a great athlete.
Yeah.
I think he's still bouncing around the NFL.
Yeah.
I coached him. Great guy. He says, honestly, this guy is just a freak athlete. He's a competitor, but he's never played the position. Why I bring that up? As I've been following this guy's career, he had the misfortune of going to the same team I got drafted to, the Jets.
You're seeing ghosts out there.
Come on, man. He said it himself. And the Jets in itself, they've been rebuilding since '69. I'm being facetious, but you get the point. It's a tough place to win, especially as a QB. He's going to keep trending upwards the more shots he gets. You understand, Porson? He's late to the position. So as I watch him, and I know how good of an athlete he is, he might be a guy like, I hesitate to say Steve Young, but when you have that type of ability, which he does, obviously, he's trending in the right direction. I don't know how old he is. He can't be over 32, 31.
Yeah, he's got some time left. I think he just turned 30.
That storyline itself is interesting because Sam Darnold was fantastic last year. I mean, fantastic.
He's 28.
Come on, man.
I like that you bring that up because I remember seeing Sam Darnold in person a little bit, right? When he was at USC. I was really hoping he got a different opportunity away from the Jets because I was always really high on Sam Darnold.
Yep.
Some of the throws that I saw him make in game against Utah, of course, with USC, but also just following them through that Pac-12 schedule, they were legitimate pro throws, like NFL quarterback throws that he was making early in his college career, knowing that he was still learning that position, Trevor. Really impressive and really glad that he is now getting an opportunity away from New York because I think he's only going to get better. And as we just mentioned, he's 28. He's still got a NFL career ahead of him, and
he learned under Shanahan.
Contract's not crazy.
No.
The Seahawks are in a good position. If Sam Darnold, if he can continue to develop, and Seahawks are in a good spot.
I mean, basically, they got him on a first-round deal.
Right.
If he was the number one overall pick. This is about what his salary would be per year. What is he making, $25 a year or something?
I think so.
And they got him on the cheap. He's peaking. 28, that's peak age, man. If they stay healthy, I'm looking for Seattle to make a serious run this year. Big-time run. That's not a revelation, but I am a big believer in Darnold. Every year he gets a chance, he's getting better.
I remember standing on the sideline watching Sam Darnold and telling someone next to me, he reminds me of Andrew Luck.
Yeah, I could see that. He's built like him.
And
big old lower half, dude.
Andrew, of course, his career ended a little prematurely, but a lot of the things that I think made him good in the NFL, if Sam Darnold can catch up to Andrew Luck's IQ of the game, which is, when it comes to quarterbacks, Andrew Luck is up there, right? As far as knowing what you're seeing in front of you. If Sam Darnold can even kind of get close to that, I think he can be a really, really good NFL QB.
Dude, one time I blitzed and hit him so far in the face, and he just stood there and took it, dude.
Sam?
Oh, no. Luck.
Yeah. He's strong.
He used to stand in that pocket like just tough as nails. And I'm looking for that storyline this year with Stanford, by the way. How are they? I mean, I heard they won last week, right? They're 2-2. I mean, the football.
I'm waiting for Andrew Luck to just walk down and head coach himself.
Well, he already kind of did that when he hired the guy out of a grocery store.
Yeah,
he was an NFL guy, but that's not an easy job. My buddy Troy Taylor had that one, and we talked about Sacramento State. He really built that program. Troy revived them back in 2018, 2019. He got there. Who are they playing? Who's Seattle playing?
Arizona.
Okay, I am down on that quarterback. He's short.
I've never been high on Kyler as a pro.
It's just hard to win with a short QB, dude.
And it's not totally about him being short, right? It's a big. I mean,
it is.
Listen,
who's won a Super Bowl under 6 foot? Dude?
I mean, I think Russell Wilson's 6 foot on the dot, right? I think he's probably 5'11".
Breeze, I think maybe that's it.
Those are the two. Steve Young a little bit, right?
He's 6 foot.
He's 6'2", 6'3".
One.
There's not many.
And maybe because they haven't got the chance, whatever. I'm just telling you, when I game plan against these guys, I'm pressuring you in the middle, and I'm going to make you throw the ball, quickly.
And it's more about that, Trevor, than it is him just being short. Because Drew Brees could handle that pressure. It was right in his face, and even though he couldn't see, he found a way to get the ball down the field, get it down the field middle.
This release was here.
Yeah.
Brees. Okay, he's releasing the ball here, and for all of you who can't see, the elbow is above the shoulder and it's coming over the top. He's releasing the ball like he's 6'3", 6'4". When you throw here, right, and you're short, you know what I'm saying?
Kyler has a baseball throw. It's the total opposite of Drew Brees. So, yeah, they may stand a couple inches apart, but when we're talking about their throwing motion, Drew Brees sits it a foot above where Kyler Murray does. It's you can see it on
he's
film.
He's on his toes, dude. Watch his mechanics. He's on his toes. So he's cheating him. He's 6'3".
And Trev, he doesn't really sit in the pocket well. Kyler, he moves a lot. He's got the happy. Hey, when you're that small, I understand trying to get out of the way quick. You're trying to preserve your body, but in the NFL, man, you got to be able to stand in the pocket and deliver late and deliver into tight windows.
That's it.
You can't do that when you're tiptoeing and you're getting out 2 seconds into a pass progression. That's just not going to work, and that's what you see with the Cardinals.
I got the fortune to play with Vic for a season. He was a backup for some of the season. Then he played some.
Mm-hmm.
He told me this frankly. He said, I wasn't any kind of quarterback till I got to Andy Reid. I said, what do you mean by that? With the NFC Championship, I was out there just
he was
making
winging
stuff
it.
happen, right? We had a simple game plan. He said it wasn't that I couldn't learn it. I just was not interested in putting that work in.
Right.
And to his point, he said when I got back there, it's easy to figure out short quarterbacks, right? I say that it's easier. Look at Russ Wilson. We talk, when he was mentioning about
there's just more. There's more you can do to him. There's more you can do to bother him
because they can't see. Someone told me that Dampier may have a hard time seeing over that line. Is that true?
Well, just physically, maybe. I mean, he's not tall, but also Utah has among the largest largest offensive lines stature-wise in all of college football. So it's at least something we can look at.
Those are two storylines because at the same time, Murray, he can win you a game with two plays.
Yep.
All of a sudden, you think you got him sacked, and it's an 80-yard touchdown because he scrambles out and chucks it, or he can run over by everybody.
That's the thing with Devin, too. We saw it against Wyoming, right? He's got that play-make ability. Can he round out the game, right? Can he find a way to, even though he's not 6'5", like your prototypical quarterback, find a way to stand in the pocket, stand tall in the pocket, and deliver things down the field, not on your first progression, on your second, your third progression coming across the field. That's kind of the next step with Devin that we're still waiting to see.
Well, I was looking up in the break this quarterback from Cal Poly. I just wanted to see where he's at. I followed him in the first week. 6'6", 220 pounds. I mentioned on air during the week, I said, this guy might be a better pro prospect. And just to bring it full circle, Sam Darnold, right? I'm going to go back to this guy.
Uh-huh.
This guy is getting better every year. Every year he's getting better. So if he's had the misfortune of the Jets, he's had the guy in San Francisco, Shanahan, and now he's had O'Connell in Minnesota, and now he's in Seattle with the defensive coach McDonald, I think. But I'm excited about Seattle. I really am, man.
I'm with you. I'm high on Sam Darnold. I'm high on what Seattle can be, and I high on them tonight too. I think they beat Arizona on Thursday Night Football, which you can hear in exactly 2 hours right here on ESPN 700. In the meantime, how about Devin Dampier that we were just talking about? You're going to hear his conversation from earlier today with Sean O'Connell. That will come your way at about 5 o'clock right here on the station. And next, it's Andy Larson. A little Larson and Larson on the drive with you on this afternoon. We'll talk some, of course, some Jazz with Andy. He's the Jazz beat writer for the Tribune, but he's also been covering some football. I saw him up at Rice-Eccles Stadium against Texas Tech. So we'll talk some Utah football, some Big 12, and more with Andy on the other side. I am Porter Larson. That is Trevor Reilly. We are filling in for Spence Checketts on the drive on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Welcome back in. It is drive time on a Thursday afternoon. Porter Larson here. Trevor Reilly across from me. And we have a little bit of a situation here developing. I am Porter Larson, hosting the show, filling in. We just got off the air with our friend Bryce Larson over at ESPN The Fan. And now in studio we have one Andy Larson.
Do you know what the B stands for in the Andy B. Larson, by the way?
It's Bryce, right?
It is Bryce.
So we have Andy Bryce Larson, who obviously we just had Bryce Larson in the studio. And none of us are related despite being blonde boys from Utah.
Isn't that crazy, man? Scandinavians came out here and settled this place, dude.
Trevor also with us. Trevor Reilly, the former Ute and NFL linebacker. Andy, it's good to have you along for the ride. And here's the deal. Usually you're all Jazz focused. Yep. Obviously the beat writer for the Utah Jazz at the Salt Lake Tribune, and a good one at that. But I saw you with some football this past weekend, some Big 12 action. Let's start there since it's top of mind, since it is what everyone's talking about at the moment. Utah, not a great showing against Texas Tech, but give me your feelings from Rice-Eccles Stadium on Saturday and how it was to cover some college football again.
Yeah, obviously it's always great to cover a game out there. This is, been out there covering games handful of times over the course of my career. Wanted to do more of it this year, frankly, with the Jazz being not a very good NBA basketball team. I think with, the Utes from drive one, you could tell that the offense wasn't clicking. And whether that was, at first, maybe just the first 3 and out doesn't worry you that much, but whether it was the Texas Tech front 7, sometimes a front 8, or if it was just the Utes kind of staying with some kind of conservative play calling, right? And, later we learned about Devin Dampier's injury, and maybe that had an impact on the play calling. But whatever it was, they couldn't get the chunk plays that I think you really need to kind of score consistently in the Big 12 and heck, in just college football in 2025, right? This is something we've seen before from the Utes, certainly last season. So it wasn't hugely surprising, but it felt like another, okay, here we go again kind of moment. And, we'll see what happens for the rest of the season. I think they're certainly favored against West Virginia this weekend, and they could still rebound from this performance. Maybe Devin Dampier gets healthy. Maybe they open up the playbook a little bit, but it felt a little bit like the struggles of last season where just they were so run heavy and so predictable that it made them easier to guard and to defend. And it just, ultimately the offense just stalled out, except for the 2 scoring drives in which they threw the ball and played up tempo. And I think that's what I want to see more of from the Utah offense is more of that style of play, more of maybe what Jason Beck showed it in New Mexico.
I would agree with that. I mean, you said it. Okay, my concern is the book's out. And if that's the case, then watch out. We got a long year, but that's my concern. Do I think that's the case? We'll see. I'm a wait-and-see guy in the first 4 or 5 games. I made a comment last week. I wanted to see the first 15 plays that are scripted. I want to see how we fared against them. And I thought it was a pretty good stalemate, actually. I mean, but that's a top 10 team. And I mentioned earlier, if we lose a couple games, that's going to be okay here. We don't want to lose any games, but I wanted to ask you, I'll piggyback off that. Does 10-2 get us into the Big 12 championship game at this point? What do you think?
I think it could. You look at the schedules of the other good teams in the conference. I mean, I think there could be some beating up on each other, kind of like in the Pac-12 days, right, where you never got the undefeated or 1-loss team. You always had the Pac-12 championship be with 2-loss teams. I think that could happen, and heck, Utah could also run the table the rest of the way and make it into the Big 12 championship that way. But I think there is possibility there. You look at BYU's schedule, for example, and I think they are one of the better teams in the conference. I think that it's going to be tricky. They've got to play Texas Tech as well. You look at, I think Texas Tech is probably, to me, given what they showed, either the favorite or co-favorite. Along with what Kansas State did, Iowa State did. But I think it is still totally up in the air.
I'm looking forward to see Iowa State when they get some action going, right? That's a team that I've compared to Utah in the past. I think they're where we were maybe 5 to 10 years ago, somewhere in that range, where they got a big-time, tough team, right? They got a good quarterback.
At a time when the rules around bringing players in and the money you could pay them were, there's a gray area there. They're cashing in on it, and they know there's a window to try to do so. And you saw the results of that. I mean, that's a defensive line that's going to be playing in the NFL. Those are a couple quarterbacks that are probably prospects at some point. But I think Rocco Becht at Iowa State might be the best quarterback in the conference. Trevor, like you said, the depth's just not there, right? So it's different. It's interesting seeing the dynamic of some of these teams that, they're not these top flight programs that have guys 2, 3, 4 deep, but they're ones because you're able to pay them now. Their ones might be just as good as some of the other teams. Andy, piggybacking off kind of your answer there, did you see enough from Texas Tech where you do think you said maybe the co-favorite with what Iowa State did? Is it at all clear what's going on in the Big 12, or is it still really early? I know you're a guy that likes to look at some of the numbers a little more.
It's still super early, but they grade out better than any other team in the conference.
Yeah.
When you look at the analytics, when you look at the even the Pro Football Focus grades, when you're looking at the eye test of how you grade out every player on that team, Will Hammond's second half made him the highest graded quarterback in the nation on Saturday, right? So, and that's their backup quarterback, a 4-star recruit, a good player, but
he's a freshman,
backup quarterback, sophomore, right?
Sophomore, he just got there.
I mean, it's either way incredible. The balls he threw. I mean, we were just shaking our heads in the press box, right? It couldn't believe what we were seeing from the backup quarterback. I mean, that's what $28 million in money gives you on top of the revenue sharing money, right? Like that's kind of the reported number that they've spent on just NIL payments for their players, and it's it gives you that depth at defensive line. It gives you the depth at quarterback. It gives you a stout offensive front that I thought wasn't totally dominating, but I thought did really well against a strong Utah defensive line. I mean, they have weapons all across the roster, and I thought that showed. It was funny at the end of the game. The last 7 minutes, we go down to the field, stand on the sideline, and we were on the Texas Tech sideline. Their president goes up and talks to a couple donors right next, probably 2-3 feet away from me, just like, shaking hands and looking at the Texas Tech fans behind us, knowing that, the money was well spent there for that game, that win, the big noon Saturday kickoff and showing off what they could do.
I got to ask you, what do you think Utah's salary cap is? You said 28 for them. What did we pay this year?
I mean, so you've got like the 20.5 that you can spend in revenue sharing, and they say they've spent all of that.
Now
and then
that goes
beyond that,
they have to divide that up with the other sports.
Correct, with the other sports, and so a certain number of that is going to basketball and Alex Jensen and that recruiting effort, and obviously some remaining is across the sports across the spectrum. But I would guess, and I will say this as an informed guess, that Utah's just NIL only share is less than half of what Texas Tech is.
Wow. So there's the solution. We need some cheese, man. We need some cash, man. All y'all listen out there. We need some donors like that want to swing it around.
I mean, they have literally a billionaire, sending $10 to $20 million to Texas Tech's way. That there's the Utah billionaires, frankly, have supported BYU, right? I mean, Ryan Smith is NIL supporting BYU in a way that there's not an equivalent donor supporting the University of Utah. For their athletic program.
We're seeing it more on the basketball side, but yeah, the point still stands that is where the influx of money is coming from is Ryan Smith, but some other Tech money there in Provo as well. Trevor and I have gone back on this on like where Utah turns for that. If you want to compete with the big dogs, like where does that influx come from? Is it just some random fan who's the Nintendo guy all of a sudden wants to be a big football fan?
The Atari guy? Are you talking?
I think isn't it Nintendo 64 guy from?
He's Japanese, the Nintendo 64 guy, but the Atari founder.
There we go.
What's Bushnell or Bushel or anyway, whatever. Went to the University of Utah. I mean, look, like you've got kind of like the Kengar family. You've got obviously the Huntsmans.
Yep.
You've got the Eccles. You have these families that have been asked for money for years and years and generations at this point, that have seen kind of their asks go up and maybe they're not in the position or not inclined to support necessarily to the extent that like the true billionaires are of America, right?
We got a couple hedge fund guys that played at Utah. Eric Jacobson, Steve Halsey.
Okay.
We should get the Players Association together with the donors.
Hey, we're brainstorming here.
And then we take the money and get these smart guys, and we start doing this stuff. And that way the players and the fans, we can own the team together with these donors. There's some movement there. We can get organized at Utah. The truck deal was a great example of that. Whoever put that deal together was a heck. I mean, that was a national story. I was at Colorado. We were reading that in our meeting. What are we doing about this? I just see that as always the issue. When I see us not play well, I have first thing, how much, who's paying?
Yeah, at this point, unfortunately, that's the question with college football, right? And I think that's probably more fair for the players than when they weren't paid. But that is what we're talking about is now, the different size of the rosters and or different size of the salary expenditures there. The other solution, by the way, is if you can't get the billionaires to just give money in kind of the NIL way, is to go to the private equity route.
Right.
And we've seen a lot of reporting on that. I think that is ultimately probably more likely if we're talking about kind of game-changing events for Utah football in terms of meeting those salary expectations. It's probably private equity, hedge fund guys at some point.
Maybe it's not.
And even owning a part of Utah football, owning a part of the revenues that come through it.
Right, where it's not, oh, I'm just a super fan, Cody Campbell, who has a bunch of oil money. Maybe I have interest in this program, right? I'm a businessman that's on the other side.
Let me put one example out there. I'm going to ask both this question.
Yeah.
You're Utah, and you just told me what they're paying. Less than half, probably, as an informed guess. Mm-hmm. Okay, I know what the tackle and the defensive end made, the brothers. Okay. I have an idea of what they're worth. So I take that number. Let's say it's together around $3 million. Now, do you pay those guys or you let them walk? Or do you take the $3 million and buy more receivers? Well, what I answer would be, why not both? Why can't we have both? Why can't we have these 5 great linemen and some receivers? And they say, well, you go get us some. Gosh dang it, everybody. Why don't the Utes have any receivers? Oh, my goodness. Well, we need some more money. Gosh dang it.
I mean, that's what Texas Tech has, right? Like, Texas Tech has a killer offensive line, killer defensive line with 2 NFL draftable guys, and then also a receiver core that, Baron Morton can throw to.
Number 5 looks like an NFL player right now, dude.
Well,
unbelievable catch.
I mean, just look at where we are. It's now a semi-pro league, so you have to kind of look at it as semi-professional football, where we're wondering, why doesn't Utah ever have a wide receivers? Well, hello.
Yeah,
why doesn't, if an NFL team doesn't have a wide receiver, what's the deal? It's because they didn't sign him or draft him or use the money they had to re-sign him. This is how we have to start talking about college football, because that's just how the rosters are going to be able to be made. Now, there's scholarships. There's different roster mechanisms. We can't talk about it like it's an NFL roster the way it's constructed. But when it comes to just getting players in your locker room, it's pretty simple. And it comes down to the dollar sign. Andy, you're a numbers guy. Check your phone. I just sent you a couple of messages. Okay. These are continuations of a conversation we've had a little bit throughout the show. They're giving you the player origins for NFL and FBS Division I players. So this is the top 2 football leagues in the world, right? Utah, outside of SEC country, is the number 1 factory for football players in the world. As a more
and
basketball
Hawaii,
guy,
we should point out Hawaii a little higher too.
Hawaii's doing awesome as well. 1.27 as far as NFL players, 2.2 as far as FBS. So they're beating us with college. Utah's beating them in pro. But give me an idea from your perspective. You didn't play football here, but you've always kind of been an outside observer. I know you've, as a Tribune sports employee, you have to keep some sort of an eye on the football culture here. Give us an idea how you've watched this football brand build, and obviously not narrowing it down to any one or which school. It's a whole kind of geographical thing rather than just one institution.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've seen the high school power players change over the years, right? Like, Brighton used to be the place to go, right? And now, maybe it's Quarter Canyon, although Lone Peak just...
It was Bingham in between there for a minute.
Bingham, yep, yeah. Sorry, Bingham is what I meant, not Brighton.
Brighton, too, for a minute.
Brighton,
back in the 90s, really.
Yeah, okay, good point. I think clearly it has been, because of the LDS population here, obviously the Pacific Islander population kind of related to that, it has been a football hotbed. And you guys know, and we just see it around town, there is a love for the game of football here that I think is different than a lot of places, especially on the West Coast, where it can kind of fit in or kind of fit out with some of the other activities to do. Like there's a real deep love for football here that I think is reflected in some of these numbers, and it's pretty remarkable what the colleges in Utah and BYU and even Utah State, heck, even Weber State at times, even Southern Utah at times has done in terms of getting players from Utah in the Intermountain region to the NFL, right? Like and that's what Kyle Whittingham and his coaching staff does really well, and that's what we've seen from, even Bronco at BYU, Bronco at Utah State. Like we've seen a lot of success there, and that's kind of part of this conversation too. Getting back to the money element is Utah's always kind of competed with being maybe a smaller fish in a big pond, right? Like
Absolutely.
What's been impressive about their run is that they have been able to do that. So, maybe while the money thing is an absolutely huge issue, what's been impressive about Kyle Whittingham's run and Hack Urban Meyer before that and so on is that they were able to compete partially because the strength of the recruiting setup here in Utah, but also just the strength of the coaching staff and turning those players into NFL caliber players.
I look at the coaches who've coached these kids. We talked about yesterday. I'm going to expand a little bit. Ron McBride and Lavelle Edwards. Those are the first two that come to mind, right?
Yep.
They're obviously, Lavelle's gone, and we just put Ron into the Hall of Fame, Coach McBride. But then we have all their under these, and there's really about 5 guys. Okay, you got Kalani and Coach Witt, you got Jay Hill, and you got Gary Anderson. And those 4 guys, it might be one more in there I'm missing. Bronco, there's the 5th. Those 5 guys those are the guys that have done this. Mm-hmm. When you really think about what we're talking about here, and just to boil it down, those 5 guys put these guys together. And then obviously we've talked about the high school level. I was telling him in the last hour, there's a couple trainers in the state that are nationally known. Anton Palapoy is a nationally known defensive line guru. He's a sensei in our world. We have about 10 of these guys in town that are senseis. And I think it speaks a lot of volumes. So I wanted to ask you, are you seeing the same thing in basketball? Are you seeing this type of growth? I know we've always been a basketball state, but what's up with that? Is this happening here locally?
To be frank, like the number of Utah basketball players is significantly lower than the number of Utah football players. Mm-hmm. And not really sure why that is. Obviously, there's a basketball gym in nearly every LDS church, right? And I think there is a deep love of basketball here, right? Like the Jazz were the only professional game in town for a long time.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of interesting why that might be. Frankly, it may just be like a body type thing, right? Like where like kind of the Pacific Islander, like stereotypical, like extremely strong, large dude is extremely useful for the NFL line, for all sorts of positions. And maybe the stereotypical basketball player from Utah is not all that athletic when it comes down to it. But like, look, I think it is a super interesting thing. I don't think there are certainly regionally known basketball trainers here, no doubt about it. But there's not like a guru that people go to nationally for training in the same way that you described.
And differently, there's a rich basketball culture here. But like Andy said, as far as just physically, those farm boys, those Polynesian boys, like those are football players. A lot of the high school and college players that come to Utah, they're not from here. Even the high school basketball recruits that we talk about nationally at Wasatch Academy, at these places, they're from Canada. They're from Africa, right? There's a different way that the basketball culture is formulated here. I think part of that is, as Andy said, geographic, physical. But it is interesting because in a state that 20 years ago we would have very much said this is a basketball state, it might be a football state now.
The Jazz are about ready to tank again, aren't they?
They definitely are.
Yeah.
And it is so interesting because like we've done a lot of reporting and research into like the idea of high schools recruiting now, right?
Uh-huh.
And in football, it's interstate or intrastate competition where the different schools are competing for guys to get to move to their districts or to just enroll in their school. Where the controversy in basketball recruiting at the high school level is, they're paying players from international places to fly over and live here and live with a host family and play basketball for Juan Diego or whatever, right?
Leighton Christian.
Sure, yeah.
They're having a hard time scheduling teams because of this. I'm talking about the football side, but basketball, they had one of the top schedules in the country last year. Who would have thunk that one?
Yeah,
Leighton
wow.
Christian? And then you start talking about, well, they got international kids, and they're living with people, and they're running. I mean, they got a racket going there. If they got guys coming in who are big time recruits.
And that's the thing. So, like, is that like this is a controversy thing, and this is one of the things like we've reported out on a little bit is that a racket, or is that giving a chance to a kid who wouldn't otherwise have that chance, right? Like, and I think that's interesting perspective,
man,
right? Like,
because go ahead.
Probably depends on if you play for Leighton Christian or go to Leighton Christian or support Leighton Christian or not, right? Like, or if you compete against them.
What about Oak Hill Academy? No, that's a prep school, but Oak Hill was kind of unfair. Bishop Gorman, I mean, and who do they play? They got to play national schedule. You know what I'm saying? You get to a point where maybe you should be playing a national schedule, and most of these teams are too. Even in football though, we're getting to the point now in high school football. You're starting to become where you just said it. Teams are consolidating talent, and like West High School is running they're running an academy over there.
We mentioned perspective. You mentioned it depends if you're playing at LCA or if you're playing at Wasatch Academy. I grew up. We talked about a little bit at a small school playing 2A basketball against Leighton Christian, against Wasatch Academy, and this was kind of as this was starting. Right, this was before there was a lot of recruiting going on, before any of this was really going down. Wasatch Academy had brought a few players in and immediately won a state title, kicked all of our trash, right? Everyone was mad. Everyone was pretty bummed because we're playing this public school 2A basketball, and one team comes in with a bunch of kids that are from Canada.
How tall was your guys' center?
6'2", and their center was 7 foot tall. He was a 7-footer from Canada who came in and won a 2A state title. So we were pissed. And, like, you can make an argument, rightfully so, but at the same time, the other perspective is there's a kid from Senegal who's coming over and now has this opportunity to play organized basketball in a place that historically has great basketball. Like, it's awesome. It's an awesome opportunity.
And,
and maybe go to college and maybe play in the pros one day and spotlight our state and the sports in our state. So, again, it's all about perspective, and sometimes your perspective is going to be warped. I remember being, like, emotionally angry at some of these, but now I look back on it with a totally different perspective. You mentioned LCA. Shout out to my guy Bobby Porter. He retired from there a while back, but one of the best coaches in the state of Utah, and put a bunch of players into the Division I level.
What do you
His
think?
nephew's Calvin Johnson. That's a random, a random connection there. Small world. But LCA now, again, we were beating them by 40 points 10 years ago. Today, they're playing a national schedule with a bunch of really, really good players. It's just a different world, and it's interesting to watch how it develops.
Let me ask you both this. Over under 30 wins this year for our Jazz.
For the Jazz, I mean, the Vegas over-under is 18. So,
oh, my gosh.
Yeah, under.
Under is the correct one.
So we're going to be at the bottom.
Yeah, I mean, that 18 number is the lowest that MGM, and that's the MGM over-under, is the lowest that MGM has given any team in the last decade since the process Daryl Morey Sixers.
So
the Sam Hinkie Sixers.
I mentioned the Colorado Rockies. They've had a historically bad season.
Yeah.
Are we going to be that bad? Is that what we're talking about here?
I mean, it's
18 wins means like we might win 1 out of 4.
Yeah. It is. I don't know about
5,
historically bad because they only won 17 last year. But we'll see.
I know we have this great player. We talked about him off air, Lauri Markkanen. Right. He looks like Mr. Olympia playing hoops. And we talked about. I'm interested to see if he gets traded before the trade deadline this year. I know there's a number of teams that'd be interested. Sure. What's your take on that? What do you think?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. I mean, I think some of it is the Jazz know that they would like to, they want to listen to offers on him. I think they still are kind of pretending, hey, we could go into him with our kind of veteran of the future, but mostly I think they know that it's not fair to Lowry to keep such a good player playing on such a bad team. And nor does it make sense to them while they're in this rebuilding phase. Problem is, last summer, they could have probably gotten 3 first-round picks and some extra goodies in there for Lowry. Now, because of the new contract, and he kind of had an up-and-down season last year with some back injuries and whatnot, that market wasn't there this summer. Now he's shown off at Eurobasket. He's kind of back. He is the player that kind of we thought he was. Bringing Finland to the Final Four of Eurobasket is huge. So maybe that value's up. I think he's got to kind of show it during the regular season, and then it kind of depends on what these teams are willing to give. I mean, I think the Lakers would be interested. I think San Antonio would be interested. I think there are a number of teams that are going to be looking to take that next step to push them over the edge at some point during the season. It's just kind of whether or not they're willing to pony up that third or fourth draft pick in order to make that happen. You know, we saw Mikal Bridges, New York saw kind of him as the final piece, got 5 first-round picks, right? So we shall see what happens there, and I think it kind of does really depend how Lowry plays this year, but I just think that for every side on this, it probably does make sense to trade him rather than not.
That is Andy Larson. With Jazz season coming up, we're going to see a lot more of you in the near future, and with your office next door now.
It's great. It can just pop over here for an easy visit with y'all.
Yeah, we'll see a bunch more of Andy during the basketball season. But as we mentioned on the inset, he's covering some football, so we'll get some Utah football chatter as the season goes along as well. Thanks, Andy.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Back on the other side, it's a little sports court time. Our friends with Handy and Handy, HandyLawUtah.com, join us to discuss the legal stories in sports. And in the 5 o'clock hour, you hear Edition with Devin Dampier's conversation with Sean O'Connell from earlier today. We'll play that for you at 5 o'clock. And then at 6 o'clock, it's the Arizona Cardinals and the Seattle Seahawks. NFL football right here on The Drive. That is Andy Larson, Trevor Reilly across from me. I am Porter Larson. That's right. Believe it or not, the third Larson to join the show today. We appreciate you guys for joining us on this Thursday. Back on the other side with more. It's ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. It is sports court time on Utah's number one sports talk, ESPN 700. Of course, sports talk brought to you by our friends at Handy and Handy Law. That's handylawutah.com. Our friend Preston and Garrett. Just today, Preston on the line with us. What's up, boss? How are you?
Yeah, flying solo today, guys. How you doing?
Doing well. Trevor Reilly, Porter Larson here, and looking forward to getting to it. Now, the first story we're going to get to you involves Ticketmaster and Live Nation, which basically just the conglomerate that's over like every event that you want to go to. Well, the Federal Trade Commission has sued Ticketmaster and Live Nation over illegal ticket resale practices. Give us the lowdown on this one.
Yeah, so we've all heard about Ticketmaster, right? Everyone I know has bought tickets from Ticketmaster, and the reason we're talking about it in Sports Court is because they are a secondary market and a platform for a lot of sport events, and I bought them for sporting events. And also another reason we got some local interest. You mentioned that the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, has sued Ticketmaster and Live Nation. Well, the state of Utah has jumped in. Representing the citizens of the state, the law enforcement of the state. They've jumped in on the lawsuit along with about another 7 other states. Well, the claim is that a bunch of things. They said they're violating consumer laws, and kind of the nuts and bolts of it are that there's a bait and switch. We've all done this, right? We see a ticket and say, oh, that's not a bad deal. That's $149. Well, what happens when you check out? It's $225, because of all the fees, the service fees, and all of that. So one of the claims of the Federal Trade Commission, incidentally, the Federal Trade Commission is suing Live Nation and Ticketmaster. They're not bringing, Department of Justice type things, criminal complaints. They're suing them. It's a civil complaint, and they claim that it's a bait and switch, and that results in harm to the consumers. The other thing they claim that they do is they encourage, when tickets hit the market, they encourage these scalpers and bots to come in and gobble up a bunch of the tickets. So what happens now? The consumer can't really get at these tickets, so they have to buy them from the secondary market. And what they're doing is they're triple dipping, essentially. The scalpers buy them, and then they put them on Ticketmaster. Well, when they put them on Ticketmaster, they have to pay a service fee to get them on Ticketmaster, and then Ticketmaster puts them out into the market, and guess what? Then they have to pay another service fee. So they're making all this money, and it's all resulting in profits. They've estimated from 2019 to 2024, they've made profits of $3.7 billion with a B, and this is all resulting in harm to the consumer. And what they're saying is this is never what the artists or the game or wherever the sporting events, what they intended the inflation of these prices to be. So this lawsuit's just getting started. I don't know exactly what the Federal Trade Commission is seeking from them in terms of money damages. That's usually what a civil lawsuit entails. It's not penalties, but we'll see what they're getting.
This one is interesting to me because just knowing, number one, the sports world, the venue and ticket world, but also knowing some folks in like the music industry, the artist side, Ticketmaster, Live Nation, not good for like as far as the well-being of artists, the consumer side. They get the money, they get the ticket rips, they get the control of a lot of these venues and the procedures there. So on this one, Preston, I'm Team FTC. I don't know how often I get to say that.
FTC. Hey, if this results in me paying less for tickets and still getting the tickets, and me representing, I think, all the consumers and how the consumers feel, because we've all seen this happen, right?
Right.
Oh my gosh, look at all those fees. Oh, I'm locked in.
And it's not just that I want to pay less for the tickets. I'm okay paying $80 for a concert ticket if the artist gets some of that money, if the venue gets some of that money, not some conglomerate that owns like every event across the country, which is kind of where we're at with Ticketmaster and Live Nation.
It's big. Yep.
The next one is completely different, but still a business angle in the sports world. The owner of Panda Express is trying to buy the Portland Trailblazers, and apparently someone has an issue with that. What's going on with this one?
Yeah, basically the investment group that's really trying to buy it is this Texas billionaire Tom Dundon. Never heard of him, but he's got some involvement in the sports world, owns a few teams. Well, he put together an investment group, and one of the investment group is a family that's made all their money in things like Panda Express. That's the one that jumps out of everything, but also some other things called Just Salad and Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas. Well, they've got a essentially letter of intent to buy the Portland Trailblazers from Paul Allen's estate, and they're waiting for approval by the NBA. Well, another group called Raj Sports comes in and says, hey, not so fast. They've sued Dundon's group, and they've alleged, they said, violations of unspecified confidentiality exclusivity agreement, and so they're seeking to prevent, they're saying the group, the family, the Churns, they're involved in this, that own the Panda Express, say you can't be involved in it because of some exclusivity. So basically what they're saying is we should all be able to bid on this together. And one thing I found interesting is this Raj Sports, R-A-J Sports, it's a family that, and I don't know how this can be, but they say they're a part owner of the Sacramento Kings. We need to get that in really understanding that they could have an ownership in the Sacramento Kings and the Portland Trailblazers. I don't think we have all those facts there, but essentially what they're saying is, yeah, Dundon, you can try and bid on this, but you got to get this group, the Panda Express group, out of there. And it looks like the Panda Express, their family's worth $7.7 billion, and they're the big investor in this. So he would need to go find other investors and have a fair bidding process for the Portland Trailblazers. I think they've been trying to sell the Trailblazers for quite some time, haven't they?
Yes.
Yeah, they have. Paul Allen.
Finally, looks like someone wants to buy them, and it's kind of being held up.
Well, this guy
probably
Dundon.
At the last minute.
This guy Dundon. I just want to say one thing. I knew that name. I looked him up. He was the guy that folded the AAF. He committed $250 million. 8 weeks later, he stopped funding, and then he took our gambling technology and brought it to the hockey. So I don't trust this guy as far as I can throw him. I'm betting.
I wonder if his history with pulling in and pulling out of deals maybe is making them part of this conversation of them being a little iffy on the sale.
Well, I'm going to tell you this right now.
Yeah, it's interesting. It got to the point where the NBA was looking to approve it, and then this group, RAJ Sports, jumps in and says, not so fast.
Yeah, this guy, this guy ruined one job for me, so I'm going to go ahead and say history repeats itself.
There we
It's
go.
probably in the wrong.
All right, we're taking sides in sports courts today.
Yeah, hey, we're not the judge and the jury, but we can take sides if we want
He
to.
owes me 50 racks, dude.
Here's the one note I'll add to this one. Panda Express, the people who are trying to get in on this is a couple who, a lot of chains are just these big conglomerates that are all over the world. The couple that started Panda Express actually just started it as like a little mom and pop restaurant, I think in San Francisco or somewhere, and has expanded it all over the world while remaining just those two kind of privately at the head of it. So I like that they're involved. They're kind of cool, a cool story. Moving on, Preston. ASU women's basketball player defeats the motion to dismiss filed by Immigration Services. So this is now the college football world and the NIL space mixing with the Immigration Services. Give us the latest.
Immigration Services, you're right.
Give us the latest here.
Probably the coolest part about this story is we've got a guard who played for LSU for 3 years. Now she's jumped to ASU because that's what players do these days, right? They jump from team to team. But the coolest part about her is her name is Lastir Poa. Well, she's in here on a student visa, which is called an F1 visa. And essentially, if you're in on an F1 visa, it says that you can be in here as a student, but you can't earn money. Well, that's a problem in today's world, right? Because the student athletes at all the universities are earning money. So she sued the Immigration Office and Services, claiming that she applied for what's called a P1A visa, which a lot of the pro athletes from around the world, that's what they're in on here, because their sole purpose for being here is what? To play sports, and that's their job. So they come in on this different visa. Well, she originally came on the F1 visa, so she applied for the P1A. They denied her it. So what'd she do? She sued the immigration office, And the immigration officer's first response is they came in and they filed what's called a motion to dismiss. That happens a lot. And their position basically was, hey, wait a minute. Here's the requirements of a P1A. She doesn't meet those. She's a student athlete here. And as a student athlete, she can't have employment. So she should be denied this. Well, the court didn't agree with the immigration offices to the extent that they would dismiss the lawsuit. They said, no, we're not going to dismiss it right now, but we're going to let this lawsuit go forward. So she's still in the game. She may not win this because if really the requirements right now that she hasn't met them and there's not a way around it, she might lose it. And I think this is something that's going to see more and more simply because what's brought to the forefront is the NIL, the ability for students to make money. And so if they're in on the wrong visa, right now it looks like they're out of luck.
Yeah, probably should be some due diligence on the NCAA and the representatives that are, elected to figure out those issues. Should probably figure that out. But until then, I'm on Team POA on this one, Preston.
Sure, Team POA. All right.
All right, boss. It's probably all we got time for today, but we appreciate your time. Let the folks know if they have any needs in the legal world, the best place to find you guys and what you specialize in.
We love coming on here with you and Spence, and today, Trevor. Good to meet you, Trevor. Like listening to you. We like talking about these legal issues in the world of sports, but we are a law firm. We specialize in personal injury cases. We help people that have been involved in accidents, take them through the legal process, make sure they get taken care of. Love to hear from you out there. Give us a call at 801-264-6677 or visit our website at handylawutah.com. You can learn all about us and submit your questions there.
That's handylawutah.com. Thank you, boss. Appreciate it.
That's right. Thanks, guys.
How about our friend at Dish Pros, Ryan from the Dish Professionals? I don't know if he can help you out with your legal issues, but I think he did stay at a Holiday Inn last night. What's up, Ryan?
So much. I didn't stay at a Holiday Inn last night.
No?
Earlier last week.
Hyatt. Oh, you're a high roller.
Hey, great opportunities with TV, and guys, with prices going up, we see these price increases, and they just continue to happen. And if you haven't checked your bill, you're paying more than what you were paying, and you're going to continue to get increases. You can stop that for the next 2 years. If you sign up with Dish right now, you get a 2-year promotion. It's going to be $30, $40 less than what you're currently paying, and even more with cable and DirecTV. Call us up, take advantage of this offer. Plus, we're going to get you Dish's top package, just over 400 channels, free for 3 months. And that alone is going to save you a few $100. Call us up, get set up with that. We'll throw in the NFL Red Zone, the multi-sports pack, free for 6 months. And Showtime and Paramount Plus free for 4 months. I said Paramount Plus because the Hopper system is fully integrated with all of the streaming apps. And it's so cool. Like ESPN Plus they just add it right in the channel lineup on the guide. So if you have ESPN Plus, it's just right there. Netflix and YouTube and Disney are just like a channel. So it's super easy to have everything in one place and get all your sports and watch everything you want and have the biggest, fastest DVR out there. Plus, we can help with internet. We've literally turned into the internet professionals. I have about 7 or 8 different internet providers right now at our fingertips. And, guys, it's easy. Call us up. We've done all the work. We'll just plug in your address and tell you how much money you're going to save. And we've got some great tricks, too, where all your internet-connected devices will just work on the new internet. You'll just pay less money. And this even works in fiber because a lot of areas are deregulated, so you can actually just pay a different provider and pay less money. You just got to call us and save money, right? 424-DISH. Call today. We're throwing dinner at JCW's. Don't wait any longer. Call 801-424-DISH. That's 424-3474.
801-424-DISH. Get in touch with Ryan and the folks over at the Dish Professionals and get your television watching experience and your streaming experience dialed in with the Dish Professionals. On the other side, Devin Dampier, QB1, chatting with Sean O'Connell. Sam Bruckhouse still to come. And Thursday night football, getting ahead of myself. Thursday night football at Seattle and Arizona at 6 o'clock, right here on Utah's #1 sports talk, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. We have run out of radio time on the show today. Thursday edition of The Drive. Appreciate you guys all for joining us. ESPN700sports.com if you missed any of the show, or wherever you happen to podcast. Just search The Drive with Spence Checketts. Search us at ESPN 700. Rate, review, subscribe to the show. Do all the things. We really do appreciate you, and it helps out the show when you do so. That is Trevor Reilly. Trev, always appreciate your time, and always fun talking with you. It flies by.
It does, man.
With
great
you.
To be here. We had great guests today.
Good guest list. If you missed those, of course, as I mentioned, you can get them wherever you podcast. Tomorrow, it's Trev and I again. We're going to be live at Tim Daly Southtown, out at Southtown Auto Mall. So come by, say hello between 2 and 5. We'll have a good guest list tomorrow as well. Some insight into West Virginia, some Utah football chatter, some Ryder Cup updates, and more. That'll come your way all tomorrow on a Friday edition of The Drive. For Trevor Reilly, I am Porter Larson. We'll chat with you tomorrow right here on Utah's #1 sports talk. It's ESPN 700, 92.1 FM, a proud part of Utah's ESPN radio network.